and to meet local leaders and first responders who've been working tirelessly to keep their communities safe. In response to Storm Goretti, the government issued 2 emergency alerts, reaching approximately 500,000 people, urging them to stay indoors due to the severe weather. The Resilience Action Plan outlines how we will strengthen local resilience, including better integrating voluntary, community and faith organisations into emergency planning.
Jane Kirkham.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the Minister for his answer. Storm Goretti was a wake-up call for Cornwall and nationally. It tested the resilience of rural and coastal Britain to these extreme weather events. In Cornwall alone, we lost over 1,000 trees and thousands of people were left without power and water. It did expose vulnerabilities, particularly in our communications in rural areas, where mobile and internet connectivity is fragile, hard to restore and not backed up. Would the Minister lead discussions with DSIC colleagues on how to shore up communications in these circumstances and consider within his own department how to advise and make individuals and communities more resilient generally in the face of increasing storms?
Minister.
Mr Speaker, yes, she's right, and I will do that. And the Honourable Lady knows firsthand the importance of hyper-local resilience planning, and I pay tribute to her work supporting her constituents in recent times. The govt.uk Prepare website already provides advice on steps people can take to prepare for emergencies, including storms and power outages, including some of the points that she raises. However, I've heard and understood the points that she's raised both today and previously, and I will give them very careful attention.
David Mundo.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. As I've said many times, I represent one of the largest rural constituencies in the United Kingdom, and Estailmuir is one of the most rural parts of that constituency. Constituents there remain extremely concerned about BT's proposals to switch off analogue lines when it's an area that has very poor mobile reception and frequent power cuts. So will the Minister and the Cabinet Office more generally satisfy themselves that the arrangements in place for this switch-off will not impede resilience and will ensure communities like Estailmuir are not cut off during extreme weather events?
Minister.
Well, I'm very grateful to him for the important points that he raises. I completely understand and agree with the points around rurality. I've heard the points that he's made with regard to BT. I know that the department has been engaging closely with them, but I'll look carefully at what he's got to say and come back to him.
Julie Binns.
Mr Speaker, I recently met with representatives of Cumbria CVS and Cumbria Action for Communities to discuss community resilience in my constituency of Carlisle and North Cumbria. Now, one of the challenges we face in geographically remote areas like mine is the speed with which local authorities and other agencies are able to deploy staff to close floodgates and shut roads when we have an area affected by flooding. Can the Minister set out what steps the Government is taking to encourage statutory bodies to train and equip community emergency volunteers to carry out these vital tasks?
Minister.
Mr Speaker, I can do that, and I'm grateful to her for raising it. And I know that her constituency has suffered from significant flooding in the past. The Environment Agency, local risk management authorities and the Local Resilience Forum have worked hard to deliver new flood schemes and improve the warning and information to communities so that they are better prepared. The Government is considering both regulatory and non-regulatory options to integrate the vital work of the voluntary, community and faith sector and statutory emergency responders, and I'll be meeting with the Flooding Minister soon to discuss this further.
Andrew George.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'm very grateful to the Minister for coming to Cornwall last week and visiting my constituency. It was noted and very much appreciated. He'll know that my constituency, West Cornwall and the Isles, took the brunt of Storm Goretti, and we have many lessons to learn, not least the point made earlier with regard to the evangelical, I think, faith in modern systems and technologies, which have made us more dependent and less resilient. So when we're learning lessons from this, will the Minister make sure that it's not simply left to local authorities to learn those lessons, but they're learnt across the UK?
Well, Mr Speaker, I absolutely will, and I was very pleased to have the opportunity to spend quite a lot of time with the Honourable Gentleman in his beautiful constituency and to meet his local council colleagues as well as many other stakeholders. I agree with the points that he's making. I think overall the response was an effective one, but I am working with ministerial colleagues across government to ensure that we learn all of the lessons from Storm Goretti, and I'm keen to work with him and other colleagues in this endeavour.
Parliamentary.
Mr Speaker. My constituency of Camborne, Redruth and Hale is 624th out of 650 constituencies for mobile resilience, mobile communications. It cannot be right that a constituency like this is exposed in the way that it was during Storm Goretti, meaning villages like Morn and Smith were completely cut off. Does the Minister agree that we need to be reviewing those constituencies where mobile communications are inadequate at the moment?
Well, I was very pleased to meet the Honourable Member at the Eden Project on Friday of last week, along with local leaders, to discuss these matters. I agree with the points that he has raised, and I give him an absolute commitment that we'll work closely with government colleagues, but as well as with local authorities and other stakeholders to ensure where there are lessons that need to be learned from this storm, we will learn them.
Mr Carmichael.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I can tell the Minister that the promises that were made by telecoms companies about the withdrawal of copper landlines have not been kept. A recent power outage that covered both Caithness and Orkney left my constituents without any landline connectivity and no mobile connectivity because there was no power to the mobile masts. So, as well as talking to BT, will he speak to the mobile phone operators and find out why they're not doing what they promised they would do?
Yes, I will. I'm looking forward to meeting the right honourable gentleman soon to discuss these things. I think it is important to say that we work very closely both with mobile phone operators, but also with the National Grid electricity distribution to get over 900 engineers out and about reconnecting homes in the South West. But I've heard the points that he's raised and I look forward to discussing them with him soon.
Matt Rodder.
Question number 2, please, Mr Speaker.
Minister.
I'm delighted, Mr Speaker, that this government has negotiated associate membership of the Erasmus Plus programme from 2027. This could open up opportunities for over 100,000 young people from all backgrounds to learn, train, study or volunteer abroad. It's good news for FE colleges, good news for universities and businesses, and it's just one example of how this government is building a strong new relationship with the EU that's in our national interest.
Matt Rodder.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Could I thank the Minister for his answer and also warmly welcome the Government's new commitment to this scheme. This is hugely important to my residents in Reading, both for families and young people, but also for employers, for science, for technology. Could he say a little bit more about how this wonderful scheme will help employers and growth in the Thames Valley, and also how it will help our local university, Reading University, and the European Medium Range Weather Forecasting Centre?
Minister.
Can I thank him for that question? And I know it's been welcomed in many universities and in Reading, and I know he's campaigned for this for a long time. Of course, in my constituency, Sussex University was home to the first Erasmus student, and when I visited last week, they were delighted they will have more soon. I do want to point out, though, that this isn't just about universities. This is also about apprenticeships, it's about FE colleges, it's about youth workers, sports professionals. And it's huge opportunities for 100,000 people. Quite why the party opposite and Reform oppose that is beyond me.
Jim Shun. Sorry, Greg.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Minister has mentioned apprenticeships. Would he agree with me that there may well be and should be opportunities, for example, for the future town funds that the government have announced? Coleraine and Londonderry in my area should show opportunities to young people to take advantage of the programmes in order to ensure that local employers offer more training and apprenticeship opportunities in the local area.
Minister.
Yeah, I mean, as I just said, certainly this is about apprenticeships as well as universities, and he should write to me and the Minister for the Cabinet Office about how we can roll this out. Of course, it is a UK-wide programme as well. It will benefit all parts of the United Kingdom, and the Minister for the Cabinet Office met with devolved governments yesterday to discuss this and other matters.
Senator Minister Mikewood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In his statement last month, the Paymaster General promised us that he'd secured a great deal for the first year of the Erasmus programme. Now, it's a technique that will be familiar with both mobile phone and satellite TV customers around the country. So, can the Minister tell us what the Paymaster General couldn't in that statement, and tell us what will it cost in the second and subsequent years?
Minister.
It's a one-year agreement, as he knows, and it's a 30% discount that we've negotiated. That is a good deal. It will be reviewed after 10 months, as he knows. But look, at the heart of this is about opportunities for young people from all backgrounds, youth workers, sports professionals, universities, etc. And the Conservative Party really wants to fight the next election, promising to take that away and to narrow opportunities. I'm afraid they're making a big mistake on this, as so much else.
Mike Wood.
Now, I think the Minister's given the game away. He's just said it would be wrong to walk away from that, whereas, of course, he will know, and the whole House knows, that in any negotiation you will only be successful if you know, and more importantly, your negotiating partners know, that you have an alternative to a negotiated agreement. So, can the Minister assure this House that if the European Union is not able to offer a similar term, similar cost for second and subsequent years, that he would be prepared to walk away from those negotiations?
Minister.
I have to say, the cheek of the honourable gentleman to talk about unsuccessful negotiations. I mean, they had years at this, and they left a Brexit deal that narrowed opportunities, harmed our economy, harmed businesses, and made it tougher for young people. We're very confident this is a great deal for the British people. It will be reviewed after 10 months. And as I say, the honourable member wants to put himself in a position of narrowing opportunities for young people. He's making a big mistake.
Question number 3, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
With permission, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to answer questions 3, 6, 12 and 20 together. The Government agreed a new strategic partnership with the EU in May of last year, delivering for UK jobs, easing the burden on bill payers and strengthening our borders. As we are making significant progress, it seems the Conservative Party and Reform would rip it up. But with regard to Reform, given that they've just recruited that well-known Remainer, the Honourable Member for Newark, who knows what their latest position is?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The inflation figures out yesterday show that despite this government's good progress on energy prices, food inflation remains stubbornly high. Even the price of a Tesco meal deal is stuck at £4.25. The government needs to make food and life more affordable. So can the Minister update us on his negotiations over agri-food trade with the EU?
Minister.
Yes. Mr. Speaker, the Sanitary and Phytosanitary Agreement removes export health certificates and routine border checks, slashing costs and red tape for agri-food trade. Businesses will save £200, for example, up to £200 saving per shipment, making trade cheaper and easier. And the party opposite want to put those costs back.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My right honourable friend will know that the UK and EU financial systems are closely linked by cross-border capital flows which support jobs on both sides of the channel. And while regulatory cooperation is beneficiary for financial stability, our ability to also diverge from some of those regulations can also support our competitiveness. So can the Minister set out a bit more about how he's working with the Treasury to ensure that the UK's engagement with the EU on financial issues balances our strategic sovereignty and autonomy with our economic prosperity?
Minister.
That is precisely why, Mr. Speaker, the Government takes a pragmatic approach. We choose to align in areas where it makes sense to do so. Where, of course, it makes sense to diverge, we will also continue to do so. We are always driven by our national interest.
Victoria Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given the strength of power shown by the EU to the US, not only is the strategic importance of the relationship with Europe more important than ever, but this matters to the £90 billion black hole to our economy and families like Hazel from Tring, whose family business of medical devices has been cut by costs and bureaucracy since Brexit. So when will the government finally start taking seriously negotiations of a new EU-UK customs deal?
Well, with regard to the first point, Mr. Speaker, we already agreed the new strategic security and defence partnership in May of last year with the European Union, which is absolutely crucial. But in regard to the point she is making around the food and drink agreement, we agreed just before Christmas that will be completed by the time of the next summit.
Alison Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A close and strong relationship with our European partners is vital to our interests. Mid Sussex is home to high-tech life sciences companies like CSL Behring and Roche Diagnostics. The regulatory and trade barriers put up after Brexit have made business harder for them. So, with a mercurial administration in the White House, as evidenced this week, surely it's time for the Minister to get behind Liberal Democrat calls for a bespoke customs union with the EU.
Mr. Speaker, our democratic mandate from the last general election is clear. We will not rejoin the single market. Customs Union will go back to freedom of movement. But what we do, and what I do every single week, is negotiate that closer UK-EU relationship, which is in our national interest, and she and her colleagues should support that.
Tom Hayes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This week, the Prime Minister hit the phones again to protect our interests. Meanwhile, the Leader of the Opposition risked undermining these efforts, acting almost like a Trump Trojan horse in this chamber. Diplomacy is paying off, tariff threats are receding, and Greenland solutions may be emerging. Does the Minister agree with me that we must always put country before party, we must work with the UK and our European allies, and that our efforts should command cross-party support?
Yes, my old friend is absolutely right. Yesterday was a moment when the Leader of the Opposition should have risen to the occasion at a profound national moment. She chose not to do so.
Right, Gavin Robinson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And can I firstly thank the Minister for travelling to Belfast later today for the East-West Council. He knows the East-West Council was created to strengthen ties within the United Kingdom, and he knows that one of the impediments to those economic ties is the Windsor Framework. So does he envisage, knowing that there are punitive measures still to be implemented, including customs required on parcels moving from one part of our country to another for ordinary consumers, does he recognise that in building a better relationship with the European Union, it requires more pragmatism when it comes to Northern Ireland?
Yeah, I look forward, Mr. Speaker, to visiting Belfast later today, and he's absolutely right that the East-West Council is a very important part of the safeguarding the union arrangements that we have. With regard to the Windsor Framework, I certainly do take a pragmatic and proportionate approach, and that is one of the reasons why I'm so keen to get the food and drink agreement with the EU implemented as soon as possible, because he knows that will mean that we can reduce the checks, the level of checks that exist on the Irish Sea.
Show Secretary Alex Burkhardt.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Since the Paymaster General was last in the Commons, the Health Secretary has said Britain should rejoin the Customs Union. The Deputy Prime Minister has said the government should join a Customs Union. 13 Labour MPs have voted with the Liberal Democrats against the party whip in favour of a customs union. 80% of Labour voters at the last election have said they want to rejoin the customs union, and the Business and Trade Secretary has said it would be crazy not to join the customs union. It would seem the only people opposed to the customs union are the Prime Minister and the Paymaster General. The Right Honourable Gentleman will be pleased to hear that in this one regard, I don't think he's crazy at all. I think he's doing the right thing. But please, will he tell the House why he thinks all the other members of the Labour Party are so wrong?
Well, Mr. Speaker, there is a real issue of democracy here in the sense that we won a general election with a mandate to negotiate a closer UK-EU relationship. It is in our national interest to do so, and we set out the red lines within which those negotiations are taking place. But if I am listening here to what the Shadow Chancellor of the Duchy is saying, and he's suddenly pivoted to supporting my approach, how welcome that would be.
Alex Burkhardt.
I'd certainly support him in telling the rest of the Labour Party that they're wrong. And, but you know, given the Labour backbenchers' success in forcing U-turns on the Prime Minister recently, I wonder how long this position will hold. Earlier this month, the Prime Minister said on the BBC that he wants closer alignment with the single market. Now, Mr. Speaker, this is a very serious development for which we've currently had no statement in the Commons, and I hope that that will be addressed very soon. Closer alignment will of course mean dynamic alignment, which will mean Britain following rules over which we've had no say. And on this side of the House, we will respectfully oppose such a move. In November, Downing Street sources told journalists that it was accepted that the UK would have to pay billions of pounds for closer alignment and market access. Will the Paymaster General confirm that that is his understanding to this House?
Minister.
Just to say quite clearly, Mr Speaker, there are no access fees either in regard to the admissions trading system linkage nor in regard to the food and drink agreement that are being negotiated. That is absolutely clear. In terms of moving forward, we take pragmatic decisions in the national interest on other sectors. That is why, openly before Christmas, we open negotiations on electricity trading. And I think what the Right Honourable Gentleman has done is really crystallised the choice that there is going to be at the next general election. This government is actually negotiating a deal that will bear down on food and energy bills, that will give law enforcement more tools to keep our country safe. Those are things that this will do. It will also create jobs. The party opposite, for ideological reasons, is setting its face against those things. I would welcome that debate with them.
Lisa Smart, Liberal Democrat, suppose.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr Speaker. We expect an EU reset bill in the coming months to update the arrangements around our relationship with our European neighbours, following the terrible Brexit deal delivered by the Conservatives and cheered on by the member for Clacton, which trashed our economy and our international standing. This reset is absolutely essential and we welcome it. Does the Minister agree that Parliament should have the ability to fully scrutinise this legislation to ensure that government delivers the change we need and can hold ministers' feet to the fire, setting up new structures or committees as needed? And to that end, will he assure the House that the bill we expect will contain enough detail to allow meaningful democratic accountability rather than kicking the specifics into secondary legislation?
Well, on the basis of my exchange with the Shadow Chancellor of the Duchy, I thoroughly look forward to bringing the bill forward to the Commons and debating it very, very fully. And I can assure the Honourable Lady that what we will be debating here is why the government's approach is good for jobs, why it is the government's approach will be bearing down on bills for consumers. And don't just believe what I say, see what the supermarket said about the deal that was struck last year. I will also welcome debating how we are going to reduce trade barriers and going to reduce costs for businesses. It's the party opposite that wants to put that red tape and those costs back on businesses. Good luck to them with that argument.
Susan Murray. Oh, sorry.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. Yesterday, the Trade Secretary was the latest senior government figure to break ranks by saying it would be crazy not to look at a customs union with the EU. This is a position already supported by the Prime Minister's economic advisor, the Deputy Prime Minister and the Health Secretary. Since leaving the EU, many businesses, including in my own Hazel Grove constituency, have found it harder to trade with our neighbours, having an obvious impact on the economy. The government has changed their minds on many things since the time of the last election, having said they definitely weren't going to. So does the Minister accept that it would save us all a lot of time? It'd be the single biggest lever the government could pull to generate growth and give those on his own benches something they're crying out for if he just agrees to crack on and start negotiations for a bespoke customs union with the EU?
No, Mr Speaker, and could I just say in relation to this, it is not as she has described, and the work that this government is doing, building that closer EU-UK relationship is absolutely crucial, and we can do it alongside trade deal with India, an economic deal with the United States that is saving jobs at Jaguar Land Rover. The government's position is in the national interest. We will continue to pursue it.
Susan Murray.
Question 4, Mr Speaker.
Minister.
With permission, Mr Speaker, I'd like to answer question 4, 7 and 18 together. A new digital ID is a vital part of the infrastructure that the UK needs to transform public services and accelerate digital government. As my right honourable friend, the Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister, said this week, our goal is simple: to make government work better for people, joining up public services so people don't have to fight to get the support that they need. It will be inclusive, secure and useful, giving people more control over their data and public services than they have now.
Susan Murray.
Mr Speaker, I welcome the government's U-turn on digital identity cards, but they must go further. We're now looking at a largely redundant system expected to cost nearly £2 billion. Will the Minister therefore explain why this is the best use of public money and whether they agree with me that these resources would be better directed to tackling organised crime rather than building a system that primarily monitors compliant citizens?
Minister.
The reason for building a digital ID system, it is the infrastructure that we need for the foundation of the British state and better public services in years to come. I am proud that we as a government are investing the time and resources to make sure that we improve government, to make it work better for people, to make sure it is easier to access public services, so that we do the hard work that government should do rather than expecting people to do it for them. And I hope that honourable members opposite will come to see the force of that argument for their constituents.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. At the beginning of the year, I made a visit to Estonia to see how their digital ID system works, where 100% of public services are now delivered via their digital ID system safely, securely, and as the Minister said, with better access for citizens over control of their data, who sees what, when and where, and indeed who buy. Indeed, it also saved them about 2% of GDP, which has allowed them to re-energise their system and continue to evolve for the future. Can the Minister please reassure me that despite the news last week, we will be continuing to press forward strongly with a digital ID system in the UK and showing the people of the UK that it can be beneficial to their lives and make things much better for them?
Minister.
Absolutely. By the end of this Parliament, every UK citizen who wants a digital ID will be able to get one free of charge. To deliver this, we will launch a huge digital inclusion drive across the UK, and I look forward to working with honourable members across the House on this, including the honourable member for Dunfermline and Dollar. I should also say that, like Estonia, we will build the UK system to earn citizens' trust, adhering to principles of data minimisation, decentralisation with strong safeguards in place, and we will consult imminently on how best to design this system.
Thank you, Leah.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Mr Deputy Speaker, I chaired the Public Accounts Committee. Mr Speaker, forgive me. Sorry, apologies, Mr Speaker. I haven't just voted. Mr Speaker, I had the privilege of chairing the Public Accounts Committee for nearly a decade, and in that role I saw the challenges of how poor data is often across government. In one hearing we learnt that government departments have 13 different ways of recording an individual's address, for example. There are many other issues around data. Is the Minister alert to these issues, and how is he going to tackle that to make sure that this system is watertight?
Minister.
Well, my honourable friend has deep experience of these challenges, and she's absolutely right. The reason digital ID is so vital to the future of our public services and government is all about data. And this will become ever more important in the future age of AI. When I worked in AI, we had a saying, garbage in, garbage out. Bad data management produces bad public services, and that's why my colleagues in the Department for Science, Innovation and Technology have a massive programme across government to upgrade and secure data for the benefit of ordinary citizens.
Andrew Snug.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. With the 100 in, 1 out deportation scheme having the same impact as one of the many resets the Prime Minister has, compulsory digital ID was billed as the next magical answer to illegal migration. Now that's been U-turned on. What's Plan C?
Minister.
It hasn't. The digital ID, digitising right-to-work checks is a vital part of how we toughen up our illegal labour market enforcement regime. It will mean that this government is cracking down on illegal working, reducing the pull factors and delivering on one of this government's key commitments, which is to crack down on illegal migration.
In Labour.
Question number 5, sir.
Minister.
The Prime Minister giving the independent ethics advisor independence to initiate his own investigations is just one of the measures this government has taken to improve transparency and standards. The high standard, the standards the Prime Minister expects of all of us who have the privilege of serving in high office, is set out in the Ministerial Code.
In Labour.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. With public trust in politics at an all-time low, I'm grateful that the government are implementing the Hillsborough Law, and clearly the duty of candour should be extended to all public servants. Truth to power is central to our democracy, to global democracy. Does my honourable friend agree with me that when the so-called leader of the free world regularly stands up in public every opportunity he gets and lies with impunity about our great country and our allies, that isn't any law, that isn't any legislation which will ever restore public trust?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, with regard to the first point, I met the families of the victims of the Manchester Arena bombings, indeed the Hillsborough families, only last week. It is absolutely critical that we get it right, that balance between the essential work of secrecy our intelligence services need to do and proper oversight, and that's exactly the work the government will engage in. With regard to the wider point, the Prime Minister made absolutely clear yesterday that he would not yield on the question of Greenland sovereignty. And whilst I was proud to see our Prime Minister taking that position, what a shame it was the Leader of the Opposition couldn't rise to the moment too.
Brendan O'Hara.
Mr. Speaker, in the interest of improving government transparency, will his department now publish the details of how his government reached the decision which allowed Lord Mandelson, the man who described the convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein as his best pal, and who then urged him to fight for his early release following his conviction, not just to retain his place in the House of Lords, but keep the Labour whip and also his Labour Party membership card?
Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister made his position clear with regard to Lord Mandelson's position when that additional information came to light. But with regard to the House of Lords, Lord Mandelson is currently on a leave of absence from the House of Lords. The revocation of a title requires a bespoke piece of primary legislation and is separate from the rules related to suspension and expulsion. Frankly, there is no formal alternative mechanism for a title to be revoked.
Nick Smith.
Number 8, please, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Government is absolutely committed to using all available tools to disrupt cyber threats and to keep the public safe. Our new National Cyber Action Plan will address the evolving cyber threat and technological opportunities. We're also working with partners across government and law enforcement to deliver real-world impact against cyber criminals. Through the Crime and Policing Bill, we will introduce measures to empower police to suspend IP addresses and domains being used for serious criminality.
Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, can I thank the Minister for his answer? There's been a tendency to offshore much cyber support, but we're producing excellent cybersecurity talent at Ebervale College to protect our digital infrastructure. So will the Minister please outline what's being done to develop our homegrown workforce and security resilience to help reduce the risks from cyber attacks in the future?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the honourable gentleman is right, and I'm very interested to hear about the course at his local college. Skills are the foundation of the UK's cybersecurity, and the Government is investing £187 million into the Tech First programme. This initiative will bring digital skills and AI learning into classrooms and communities and aims to reach 1 million students by 2026 and provide 1,000 annual scholarships. These skill projects will help bridge the gap in our cyber resilience.
Jim Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the Minister always for his answers. They're always very helpful. Cyber crime and fraud are now the most common crime in the UK, accounting for some 50% of all offences and costing the economy billions of pounds per year. So will the Minister discuss, please, with Cabinet colleagues, additional funding to ensure that our universities and our colleges can provide high-level training in cybersecurity to ensure, if you don't mind me saying, that Belfast's title of the cybersecurity capital is retained? Thank you.
Minister.
Well, I'm very grateful, Mr. Speaker, to him, as I always am, for the important points that he raises, and I think he knows how seriously we take these issues. He's right to raise the point about skills and education. Let me just say very briefly how seriously we take these matters. We're doing a lot of work to support the victims of cybercrime. We're providing free guidance, tools and incident response advice through the NCSC, alongside targeted awareness campaigns. I give an assurance of the seriousness with which we take these matters.
Graham Leppard.
Question number 9, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
The Government is committed to delivering the largest wave of insourcing in a generation. As part of that, we have consulted on plans to introduce a public interest test before any further services are outsourced. We will publish results soon. But let me be clear, this Government will end the decade-long drive to outsource our public services, and we will do so to deliver better value for money for taxpayers and better services.
Graham Leppard.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister repeated the promise that was made nearly 18 months ago when the Labour Party came into power. We're not seeing a massive amount of insourcing at the moment. I have constituents in Murray West and Strathspey who work on 3 different military bases, who are contractors, and many of whom used to be civil servants.
and have lost considerable pension benefits as a result of that outsourcing. There are many others in DWP offices, in the Cabinet Office itself and in other government offices throughout the country. When can those workers expect to see some fairness in their contractual arrangements?
Minister.
Can I thank you for that question? I know he's raised this point previously about workers in his constituency. So we are making progress. The Employment Rights Act, which comes in, will make some progress in this, particularly around the two-tier code and reinstating that. We have consulted on measures on a public interest test. I will bring forward our conclusions and proposals on that very soon. But as I say, the central point of this government is we will reverse the decade-long drive to outsource, and we will bring more powers, resources in-house to deliver better value for taxpayers.
Snell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. When the government does finally bring these insourcing process to its fruition, there will be lots more purchasing power for the government in terms of the services that it buys and the goods that it procures. So can the Minister give a categorical assurance to this House that every penny of British taxpayers' money with these new powers will be spent with British companies and British industries so that we're supporting our own British economy?
Can I thank him for that? And look, that is one of the goals this government has, and I think it was Prime Minister Carney said that he thought Canada should be Canada's best customer. I think Britain should be Britain's best customer. And that we... Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And that we should work towards that. As I say, we will publish them these proposals very soon, and I hope we can make progress very quickly.
Arthur Wrigley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've been trying to get records of a meeting held between Peter Teal of Palantir, Boris Johnson, the then Prime Minister, and Dominic Cummings on August 28th of 2019 from the Cabinet Office. I'm getting conflicting data back from the Cabinet Office. Is it in the public interest that this is being outsourced, management of this information, to Palantir?
Minister.
Can I thank you for that? My understanding is that has been dealt with by way of a written question that we've already replied to and have put it in the public domain.
Under Bagdon.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister will be aware that too many retired civil servants are waiting too long to be paid their pension and lump sums. 70,000 are still caught up waiting for past discrimination to be addressed under the MacLeod remedy, and there are already concerns about Capita's management very early in its new contract period. So does the Minister share my concern that this is completely unacceptable, that urgent action as called for by the PCS trade union is urgently required, and can he provide the House with a full statement on Capita's performance administering the civil service pension scheme at the earliest opportunity?
Can I thank you for that question? And I know this has affected a lot of constituents and a lot of former civil servants. I've had lots of letters on it. I'm sure everyone else has as well. The Minister for the Cabinet Office met with PCS about this recently. He's met with, I believe, also the Chief Executive of Capita. We are committed to holding them to account. We will do so. And if it's okay with you, the Minister for the Cabinet Office will write back to you with a fuller statement.
Christian Osborne.
Question number 10, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this government is putting power, opportunity and resources in the hands of local communities and local businesses. Just last week, this House approved measures to reserve around £1 billion a year of contracts for local businesses in the UK. That will make a big difference to businesses in my constituency and his. And we are consulting, as I say, on further steps, and we'll bring them forward soon.
Thank you very much. And can I thank the Minister for that answer? Under the last government, under austerity, social enterprises were decimated by cuts to their budgets. We have many good social enterprises such as MCH, Emmaus and Medway Voluntary MVA in my constituency. What more can be done to support social enterprises after 14 years of austerity?
Minister.
Can I thank him for that? And look, I agree, social enterprises are the backbone of many communities. I pay tribute to the one he raises. I know there are some in my constituency as well. And look, I agree we do need to do more to open up procurement and support social enterprises and wider SMEs and voluntary sector. We did publish a procurement statement on it last year to try and help address that, but we are going to go further, and we will go further on it very soon.
Josh Buckland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. East Sussex County Council has launched a scheme to fine East Sussex highways where its roadworks overrun and cause disruption to local businesses. A clear case is that of Victoria Place, where businesses like Gianni's, Quality, Great and many more were disrupted by overrunning works for the pedestrianisation of that street. Does the Minister agree that funds should be used to help compensate those businesses for the disruption? And can the Cabinet Office support East Sussex County Council to do just that?
Minister.
Well, as my constituency cuts in, half of it is in East Sussex, so I'm always happy to support East Sussex County Council. I think we're slightly off beam with the broad thrust of the topic, but I get his point about the frustration constituents, including mine, have with overrunning works. We'll follow up with him if there's anything further the Cabinet Office can do on that.
Jeff Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question 11.
Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the consultation on the compensation scheme closes today. I'm grateful to all who've shared their views. The Government will consider it carefully and respond within 12 weeks. I should also say I'm pleased to tell the House that, as promised, the first payments to affected people were made by the end of 2025. And as of the 13th of January, the Infected Blood Compensation Authority has made over £2.4 billion in compensation offers.
Jeff Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a number of constituents affected by the infected blood scandal, and justice for them and for the other victims is long overdue. So I'm pleased that the Government is making progress on this issue. In relation to the estates of the people who sadly passed away, can I ask how many of the interim £100,000 payments have been made to date?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm more than happy to write to him with the very up-to-date, precise figure on that point about interim payments. But I should also say as well that, as was raised in the House to me on a number of occasions in the autumn, there was also the issue of inheritance tax. Now, inheritance tax actually bit on secondary beneficiaries. That was an issue I was pleased this Government dealt with at the budget.
Lord Session.
Question number 13, Mr. Speaker.
Welcome.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm here to earn my salary. I thank my honourable friend for her question. The Government will be taking a digital-first approach to modernising public services. On Tuesday, I highlighted how we are expanding the Number 10 Innovation Fellows programme to bring in more specialist digital skills into government. From justice to health, they'll be working on building in-house digital solutions to create more efficient and value-for-money public services.
Lord Session.
I thank the Minister for making sure he's earning his keep. And it's really important. I welcome the written statement from the other Minister on the plan to boost AI to use productivity in public services. It's right, we look at all avenues. But one area I'm concerned about is the gender and racial bias that many studies have shown in AI, particularly when you look at health outcomes. The Minister may be aware of a King's College study looking at heart scans, and the study showing racial bias on the AIs on the heart scans. And we know the data shows that BME people have worse health outcomes. But actually, we want them to engage in these programs so that we can make sure they're not left behind. What steps is the Minister using to help identify and, most importantly, resolve some of these biases so we make sure that our public services and AI are working step in step to make sure no community is left behind?
Secretary.
Can I thank my honourable friend for raising that extremely important question? These AI solutions are only as good as the way in which they serve the public fairly and with equality built in at the start. That's why the AI Safety Institute and officials at the Department for Science, Innovation and Technology work across government to make sure that those values and ethics are built into programmes as they're being built by the government.
Question number 14, please.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Government's Prepare website provides emergency preparedness advice to the public, including information about signing up for emergency alerts and warnings and preparing their homes for emergencies. By using this advice, like the downloadable household emergency plan, people can improve their emergency preparedness regardless of the cause.
I thank the Minister for his answer. As he will know, a recent gas outage in my constituency led to thousands of people without power, many for several days, and Cornwall has recently seen huge disruption from Storm Garetti. And these incidents highlight how vulnerable households can be when essential services are disrupted. Now, given impending climate breakdown and the increasingly uncertain geopolitical environment in which we now find ourselves, would the Minister outline whether the Government is considering any kind of personalised nationwide information campaign to help people prepare for such a crisis? Not everyone is going to look at the govt.uk website, and the Dutch Government has recently done this by sending a 33-page booklet on emergency preparedness to every home in the country so people will know what they need to do in a crisis.
Minister.
Well, I'm grateful for the points that she raised, and we do look very carefully at what international allies are saying about these matters. I am concerned to hear about the situation in her constituency. I can say to her that DESNES works closely with industry, regulators and other stakeholders to improve and maintain the resilience and security of energy infrastructure. When incidents do occur, as they have in her constituency, even exceptionally disruptive ones, industry do have tried and tested response plans to minimise disruption to customers as quickly as possible. That said, I am keen to further increase our resilience. If the Honourable Lady would like to write me, I'll look very closely at what she has to say.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The advice in the previous government was that households should stockpile 3 days' worth of non-perishable food and water. And this week, the Guardian newspaper has reported that other European countries are looking at creating strategic food reserves. Could the Minister tell us a little bit more about what his thinking is on these issues?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I could, and I welcome the Honourable Member's interest and expertise in this area. The Government's Prepare website includes a suggested list of supplies to improve household resilience, including non-perishable food. I do take a close interest in the messaging of our partners in Europe in this area, and I know that the Government is committed to ensuring that the whole of society, particularly the most vulnerable, are best prepared for and supported during crisis.
Right, we go to topical. Sarah Olney.
Question number 1, Mr. Speaker.
Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This week I gave a speech recognising the public's frustration with our public services. I did, though, reject the offer of the Conservative benches, Mr. Speaker, that of continued cuts and continued decline, and I equally rejected the offer of the populist parties who just want to tear it all down and leave you on your own. In place, Labour will build public services anew, so that services in the future will feel more like when you are doing your online banking or online shopping, and that public services are there when you need them the most. I have also tabled a written ministerial statement, Mr. Speaker, about other changes in how we perform our duties in government, including new task forces, the expansion of the Innovation Fellow Scheme, the new National School of Government and Public Services, and reforms to the recruitment criteria, bonuses and performance management of the senior civil service, all of which is spelt out in the written ministerial statement, and I'm happy to answer any further questions today.
Sarah Olney.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In relation to that speech where the Secretary of State for the Cabinet Office set out his plan for the future of the civil service, in which he envisioned further sackings and a digital transformation, last week we saw the untested and potentially dangerous nature of artificial intelligence as the Chief Constable of West Midlands Police admitted his force had used AI to come to their verdict that Maccabi Tel Aviv fans should be banned from attending their European game away to Aston Villa. As governmental departments are already using AI to make critical and life-changing decisions, can the Minister clarify whether he plans to replace diligent civil servants with artificial intelligence?
I thank the Honourable Lady for her question. In the first instance, I'm trying to create some computers that work. Before we even get to artificial intelligence, Mr. Speaker, we need to build some pretty basic services that the public are used to using in the private sector, that because of 14 years of austerities from the members opposite, have not been the case in public services.
Listen, you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In Scarborough, British electric bus manufacturer Alexander Dennis employs more than 700 people and is vital to our local economy. Tax-funded bus procurement should support UK industry rather than fund international competitors. However, with the social value requirement in public procurement set at only 10% and price still weighted at 70%, social value has little to no real impact. Will the Minister look at increasing the social value requirement in public procurement to support our great British
A very important question, fully supportive, but we've got to just sharpen them up to get others in. This will be a good example of a reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Look, my honourable friend raises a really important issue that I know affects her constituency. As I said earlier, we need to do more to support great British businesses like Dennis. We are looking at reforming social value. We've done it as part of the consultation. I think it needs to go further and to be meaningful social value that really helps local communities.
Secretary Alex Burkhardt.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. At the risk of overworking the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, I'd like to ask him a question directly. It's a boring question, but it's an important one. My last boring question was to the Paymaster General. The opposition has found that his department is often refusing to release information to honourable members through parliamentary questions, only then to release the information through freedom of information requests. Does he agree that in principle that's wrong?
Secretary.
I do, and I'm happy to take a look at it.
Alex Burkle.
I'm very grateful to him for that reply. I really appreciate it. In his role as the Chief of Staff to the Prime Minister, will he please, in his role as Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, will he please write to all other government departments to make sure that the good example that will now be set by the Cabinet Office is set by other government departments?
Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, you will know that I take accountability to Parliament very seriously, as does the whole government, and as I said in my first answer, I'm happy to take a look at it.
Douglas McAllister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The SNP government dropped the ball on an £11 million investment led by Rolls-Royce to build a specialist welding centre on the Clyde, a vital opportunity to support the Royal Navy, and it's only thanks to this Labour government providing £2.5 million of support to the programme that it's going ahead. Does the Chief Secretary agree with me that at the time of rising global uncertainty, my constituents deserve better than the flaky student union politics of the SNP government?
I couldn't agree more, Mr. Speaker, and can I thank my honourable friend for making such an important case for his constituency, as he did do yesterday at Prime Minister's questions, whether it's on defence, on nuclear energy, or indeed on fixing public services. The SNP have failed Scotland for far too long, and only with Anna Sawar as the leader of the Scottish Government from May will things start to get better.
Alison Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I push for a clearer answer, please, to the question put by my honourable friend, the member for Hazel Grove? Will the Cabinet Office set up a European Relations Select Committee?
That's a matter for Parliament, not for government. I mean, there certainly is a European Union Relations Secretariat in the Cabinet Office with some absolutely excellent civil servants, and I'm very proud to work with them leading the negotiations, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It was great to be at What Three Words HQ for my right honourable friend's speech about moving fast and fixing things. 3 words to describe the last government were total, utter shambles. So does my right honourable friend agree we've got to not only deliver public services in terms of value for money, but also quickly with Labour values at the very heart of them?
Secretary. I couldn't agree more, Mr. Speaker, and maybe with those What Three Words, more Tory MPs can find their way to the benches next time.
Gregory Stafford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week, the government briefing suggested that the security services were, and I quote, relaxed about the proposed Chinese mega-embassy. Yet this week, we've learned that MI5 has been asked to reroute sensitive financial cables because of it. So can the Security Minister explain how both these statements can be true and tell the House which reflects the government's assessment of the security risk and threat from that embassy?
Well, as I made clear in a lengthy and detailed statement to Parliament earlier this week, we're clearly not going to get into the technical detail of the mitigations, but I was reassured to see the letter from the Director General of MI5 and GCHQ, where they pointed out that there are clear security advantages as a consequence of this proposal. I also sought to make the point that we have agreed with the Chinese government that there will be a reduction in their current diplomatic footprint from 7 sites down to 1.
Peter Swallow.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. While opposition parties fight over who can promise the biggest cuts to our vital public services, Labour believes in an active state working alongside British businesses to drive growth. Does my honourable friend agree we can do more to ensure British companies are prioritised in procurement?
I absolutely do, and as I said previously, Britain should become Britain's biggest customer. We have a £400 billion a year procurement budget. In my opinion, we do not use that well enough to support British companies, and I'm working with the Chancellor and colleagues across government to make sure we do in future.
Harriet Cross.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last year, the government sold out British fishermen in their UK-EU trade deal, giving away 12 years of access to our fishing waters. We have seen the form that the government have of using our fishermen as pawns in negotiations. So can the Cabinet Office, any of them, please confirm that in any trade negotiation or SPS agreement, there will be no part of our fishing industry returned to the common fisheries policy?
Absolutely not return to the common fisheries policy, and I have to say that the Honourable Lady is completely wrong in what she just said. The medium-term stability we've delivered for our fishing industry will mean, first of all, £360 million worth of investment to upgrade our fleet and for coastal communities. If she opposes that money going into our fishing communities, she should say. Secondly...
Order. Yeah, thank you. Got there, don't worry, Jim Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Residents in Dartford regularly tell me that they want to see every pound of public spending used to best effect. So can the Minister update me on what progress is being made on cracking down on fraudsters and making sure that the UK taxpayer gets back the money that they are owed?
Minister.
As in so many things, the last government gave up and accepted fraud as inevitable and stopped tackling it properly. This government, by contrast, is delivering the most significant package of measures to tackle fraud and error in recent history. The Office for Budget Responsibility forecasts these measures to deliver £14.6 billion of savings by 2030.
Sir Alex Shelbrooke.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I ask the Minister, will you give an update to the delays to the pension payments of civil servants who've left employment under the voluntary exit scheme? I've had a number of constituents complain that they've been left without any income due to the delay by the pension administrator Capita. So can I ask, will he take personal control of the situation, and will he update the House at some point on contingencies and a new escalation process for people who are affected?
Yeah, I mean, the Honourable Gentleman raises a really important issue. On the specific point he raises, if he writes me, I'm happy to look at it. But I've seen the Chief Executive of Capita. I've made clear the standards I expect, and Capita should be in no doubt of the contractual tools available to me that I will actually employ to drive performance.
Jenny Riddle-Carpenter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As chair of the Labour Rural Research Group, I hear continually about the challenges facing rural communities, access to education, transport, infrastructure, etc. Can the Minister set out what specific steps the Cabinet Office is taking to ensure that rural voices and rural communities are meaningfully represented throughout government decision-making?
Hear, hear.
Can I thank my honourable friend for the great work that she does in Parliament and within the Labour Party as a leading voice for the rural communities across our country. In terms of government action, I'll point her to the Rural Task Force, which is a cross-departmental grouping looking at how policies taken across government can have a particular positive impact in rural communities, whilst also recognising the unique risks that we want to help to mitigate.
Charlie Dewhurst.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, the Paymaster General has told the House on more than one occasion this morning just how wonderful his new EU deal is going to be for British food and drink manufacturers. So why is he refusing to appear in front of the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs Select Committee to discuss the matter in more detail?
Well, to be frank, Mr. Speaker, when we have final negotiation and legal text, I will, of course, be willing to appear before the Select Committee at an appropriate moment. I think if you look at the number of Select Committees I appear before, both here in the Lords, it's a very high number.
Yeah. Ewan Steinbach.
Speaker, the 10-year bus pipeline is still to be published, and a report in the media regarding the investigation by the NCSC and DFT into kill switches suggests 700+ Chinese buses on British roads have remote disabling technology. Can the Minister confirm if the Government are delaying publication of the 10-year bus pipeline until the report into Chinese kill switches is concluded?
Secretary.
I'm grateful to the Honourable Gentleman. I believe he's had a meeting with the Minister from DFT to discuss these matters, but I'd be very happy to discuss it with him further.
David Mundell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Assisted Dying for Terminally Ill Adults Scotland Bill is still under consideration in the Scottish Parliament and has not been passed, contrary to the views of a number of members of this House. This week, a number of measures had to be removed from the bill because they were not compliant with the powers of the Scottish Parliament. But Scottish ministers suggested that they were in an ongoing discussion with the UK Government about a future Section 104 order. So are ministers able to update the House on current discussions with the Scottish Government? And do they agree with me that ultimately...
Go, come on, Minister.
The Government takes a neutral position, as the Honourable Gentleman knows, in relation to this bill. It's also important, both recently and indeed going forward, that we work sensitively with all the devolved administrations as well.
Steve Race.
Tuesday, the Chief Secretary set out plans to promote the doers across civil service, establishing the new National School of Government and Public Services. Can you tell the House what steps he plans to ensure that Whitehall is focused on delivering services that actually work really well for my residents in Exeter?
I thank my honourable friend for his question. My assessment is that government conflates policy and delivery. That's why we're going to be promoting people from the front line into the more senior levels of the senior civil service to make sure that we understand the customer experience and how citizens expect their services to work more than has been the case in the past.
Andrew Snowden.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Earlier I questioned the Minister around the U-turn on compulsory digital IDs, and much to our confusion, the Minister said there has been no U-turn. So maybe the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster could clear this up. Is digital ID going to be compulsory, yes or no?
Secretary.
There has been no U-turn, but if the member would like me to... the member's asked the same question twice, Mr. Speaker, and he's had the same answer, but if you'd like me to, I'd write it to him in plain English, and he can read it a third time as well.
Amanda High.
Thank you,
Mr Speaker. North West Leicestershire is home to East Midlands Airport, which carries the highest volume of small parcel air freight in the UK. In light of the new trading agreements with the EU, can the Minister update me on how we will ensure small businesses can make the most of these additional trading benefits for current and future agreements?
Yes, the deal we struck at the UK-EU summit will cut costs and red tape for businesses who import and export to the EU. This government is committed to removing barriers to trade. It's a shame the party opposite are not.
Amanda Martin.
Mr Speaker, and I'd like to thank the Chief Secretary for meeting me to discuss the £20 million Pride in Place money awarded to Portsmouth. But, Mr Speaker, in order to boost and expand these funds in my city and make investment lasting, can the Chief Secretary tell me and my constituents more about his work through the new Office for the Impact Economy regards collaborating with social investors and philanthropists so we can boost funding and create much needed change in local communities?
Can I thank my friend for her question and the brilliant work she's doing in her constituency with this historic money for Pride in Place, where local people get to decide how to spend money on their own communities. As she's alluded to, the Office for the Impact Economy will be working with social investors, philanthropists and other organisations to match up funding to be able to increase that money even further to have a longer lasting impact for their local communities.
Matt Robert.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Could I thank the Government for its work on cutting the cost of living crisis? And could the Minister address this issue and how the Cabinet Office is supporting other government departments to continue this work?
Secretary.
I thank my honourable friend. As part of the Growth and Living Standards Cabinet Committee, the Cabinet Office coordinates ministers from across government to make sure that we are working as hard as possible to get inflation down, costs down and make a real difference to living standards to the public across the country.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. With Boots stores at Castle Point, Southbourne Grove and Boscombe High Street in my constituency, I met Boots in Parliament to hear about what they're doing to tackle shoplifting. In London, they're working with the Metropolitan Police, where the police plug into Boots' own reporting system to avoid the need for duplicate reporting, and I'm calling for the same to come to Bournemouth. But plugging all businesses into all police forces will take a lot of work. Would the government consider a national police app, which is opt-ins, like the National Health Service app, where people don't have to go through the faff of reporting their demographic information and they can just get on with reporting crime faster? It would help Carl, the store manager of Aldi and Boscombe, a lot.
It's a very good idea, Mr Speaker, and I've had similar issues in my own constituency. I'll make sure that the idea is passed on to the Home Secretary as part of police reforms that will be coming to the House shortly.
Let the front bench change over. Right, we now come to business questions. Shadow Leader of the House, Jesse Norman.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Will the Leader give the House the forthcoming business?
Mr Speaker, the business for the week commencing the 26th of January will include Monday the 26th of January, second reading of the Armed Forces Bill, Tuesday the 27th of January, consideration of an allocation of time motion, followed by all stages of the Medical Training Prioritisation Bill, Wednesday the 28th of January, Opposition Day in the name of the official opposition, the subject to be announced. Thursday the 29th of January, a general debate on Holocaust Memorial Day. The subject for this debate was determined by the Backbench Business Committee. Friday the 30th of January, the House will not be sitting. And the provisional business for the week commencing the 2nd of February includes Monday the 2nd of February, if necessary, consideration of Lord's messages to the Diego Garcia military base and British Indian Ocean Territory Bill, followed by consideration of Lord's amendments to the Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction Bill. Tuesday the 3rd of February, second reading of the Universal Credit Removal of Two-Child Limit Bill. Wednesday the 4th of February, Opposition Day in the name of the official opposition, the subject to be announced. Thursday the 5th of February, a general debate on road safety, followed by a general debate on obligations to assess the risk of genocide under international law in relation to the occupied Palestinian territories. The subject for these debates were determined by the Backbench Business Committee, and Friday the 6th of February, the House will not be sitting.
Jesse.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the Leader for that update. The House will know that I am obsessive about improving education, skills and life opportunities for young people, and I know the Leader, with his own background, shares that passion. So I can't let this week pass without noting that on Tuesday, our new specialist technology and engineering university in Hereford, NMITE, formally launched its new autonomous robotics degree. sponsored, designed and delivered in collaboration with the British Army. I thank the Defence Ministerial team and in particular the Minister for Armed Forces for coming up to Hereford and supporting with that. I believe this is the UK's first undergraduate drones technologies degree. Starts in September 2026. That's light speed compared to the normal progression of these things in higher education, and it will be of inestimable value not only to young people up and down the country, but to the defence of the realm and in a host of other sectors, including food and agriculture, infrastructure and energy. But otherwise, Mr. Speaker, what a week this has been. Rising international tensions, heated public disagreement, desperate attempts at diplomatic solutions, and that's just Brooklyn Beckham's Instagram account. Talking of elites, Mr. Speaker, we've had the amusing spectacle this week of that self-proclaimed friend of the people, the member for Clacton, hoovering up the free food and glugging down the champagne with the global bullshitterati in Davos.
No. Tab, no, I've not even spoken. I'm going to speak first. I want temperate language, and I'm sure you'd love to withdraw that little message up for us. Shadow Leader.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to exercise my quadriceps several occasions. Yes, of course I withdraw.
Oh, that's good.
Appalling term, and I unhesitatingly withdraw it from the record. All this, I should say, Mr. Speaker, comes from the Honourable Member for Clacton after a lifetime spent denouncing Davos as a hub of evil globalist elites, where, in his words, there's no space for the little man. Well, at least we know that's not true anymore. Oh, the irony of it all, Mr. Speaker. A wildly anti-establishment figure, a long-time member of the Reform Club, no relation, now joining the globalist elites. Can it be long before he aspires to join the Garrick Club, or indeed join the Prime Minister in professing publicly that he prefers Davos to Westminster? But amid all this nonsense, very serious other changes are underway. Last week, the government published the results of the latest auction for renewable energy. This set a floor price for renewables of £91 per kilowatt hour. No one in this House disputes the importance of green energy or the importance of renewables in the energy max. No, few sane people dispute the value of green energy. But energy prices are already unfeasibly high for British businesses, and despite the government's promises, they are set to go higher still, especially once the cost of new nuclear is added in. The effect of this policy will be to punish taxpayers and, of course, bill payers, but it also is a form of corporate welfare because the only benefits will come to the better off from this policy. Meanwhile, the government's decided to ignore North Sea oil and gas, gravely damage the northeast of Scotland, undermine the employment of thousands of skilled workers in disagreement with their own unions, and import gas from overseas at greater cost with more carbon and more carbon miles. Mr. Speaker, this is a repetition in its own way of the PFI scandal of 30 years ago, in which the country paid tens of billions of pounds more than it should have done for public infrastructure, and a lot of wealthy people in the City of London, now resident in overseas countries, made out like bandits. John Maynard Keynes, in 1919, wrote a little book called The Economic Consequences of the Peace, about the disastrous effects of the Treaty of Versailles and the demands it made for payment from the other side in the First World War. I'm not suggesting for a second there's any comparison between these times and then in Weimar Germany and the rest of it, but I will say that we are facing severe economic constraints coming out of energy prices, and therefore I ask the Leader whether we can have a debate on the economic consequences of the Energy Secretary.
Leader of the House.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Speaker. Shall I first of all say the Shadow Leader has clearly had his Weetabix this morning. Secondly, can I wish through you, Mr. Speaker, everyone well celebrating Birds Night this Sunday coming. And also, Mr. Speaker, this weekend is the annual RSPB Big Garden Birdwatch, when the RSPB asked people to observe their gardens for an hour and count the number of birds that they see. I understand, however, Mr. Speaker, that those on the official opposition benches have been warned not to take part by the Leader of the Opposition, who says they should be spending less time watching the bird table and more time looking at the shadow cabinet table. There's clearly concern, Mr. Speaker, about more migration from her party to join the lesser spotted member for Clacton. But surely, Mr. Speaker. But surely, Mr. Speaker, there is a limit to the number of cuckoos that will fit into the Remain reform nest. In terms of other things that have happened this week, Mr. Speaker, before I get to the remarks of the honourable gentleman, we have announced a consultation on further measures to keep children safe online. This will consider the options of banning social media for children below a certain age and raising the digital age of consent. We're committed to keeping children and young people safe online, and colleagues on both sides of the House will have heard from their constituents on this matter, and the Government is listening to those concerns. The Government also published the Water White Paper, setting out a new vision for water and transforming the water system for good. The paper sets out clear powers for a new regulator, delivering tougher oversight and stronger accountability for water companies, an issue raised with me consistently at Business Questions. And we also published the Warm Homes Plan, and we're doubling down on support for home upgrades and have set out our plans to help households and support thousands through more clean energy jobs. In response to the remarks of the Shadow Leader of the House, I certainly congratulate his constituency on the developments in higher education, but I have to say, maybe not quite as much this morning, but he is a man who hides his light under a bushel, because he has played a huge role. I know he has played a huge role in these developments in higher education in his constituency, and we should recognise that. In terms of his remarks on renewable energy, when he says no one disputes the importance of green energy, I think that's stretching a point a bit. It's not simply members of Reform, but there are still members in his own party who dispute the importance of green benefits, jobs. In terms of the benefit to the better off, I would remind him that every household will benefit from a £150 cut to energy bills. And the other side of that is not just households who will benefit, but there will be thousands of green jobs, not least in my own constituency and in my own region. But finally, Mr. Speaker, I welcome his conversion, perhaps belatedly, to Keynesianism. It's perhaps another sign of not fitting quite in with the mainstream of his own party.
We're in the jest.
Mr. Speaker, for the past 9 years, St Chad and St Mark Church in my Wolverhampton West constituency has welcomed Iranian refugees into their congregation who have fled the persecution of the oppressive Iranian regime. And last week we heard both the Foreign Secretary and the Prime Minister spoke of the total abhorrence of the killings, the violence and the repression that protesters in Iran have recently been subjected to. Mr. Speaker, this has mainly been by the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, who have also intimidated and harassed dissidents abroad. So when will this government prescribe and ban the IRGC as a terrorist organisation, as other countries have already done?
Leader. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My honourable friend is right to raise this matter. As we've said before, we won't hesitate to use the most effective measures against the Iranian regime and the IRGC. We've already implemented 550 sanctions against Iranian-linked individuals and organisations and placed Iran on the enhanced tier of the Foreign Influence Registration Scheme. The Foreign Secretary made a statement, Mr. Speaker, this week, and my honourable friend may wish to attend Foreign Office questions next week to make the point directly to ministers.
Bobby Dean, Liberal Democrat spokesperson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And before I begin, I do have to pull the Leader of the House up because he didn't respond to one of the critical points that the Conservative leader made, and I, for one, would like to hear what the Leader of the House has got to say about the feud in the Beckham family. St Helier Hospital, Mr. Speaker, is older than the NHS itself, sited in the heart of my constituency, and is crumbling. It was placed within the new hospitals programme, a programme set up by the Conservative government, but one which they totally failed to deliver on. And of course, this government put it on a new timetable, stretching out the delivery over the coming decades. Now, last week, the National Audit Office have done an assessment of how the government's performing on that so far. There is some good news to the government. They've said that they have put it on a more firm financial footing for the long term, but they do also warn of potential further delays, and in particular delays to those hospitals with RAC, with them looking set to miss their deadline in 2030 now. I've also heard, Mr Speaker, that some of the Phase 1 schemes have not kept pace with the programme, not drawn down all the capital that's been allocated to them, and this could present an opportunity to other trusts, perhaps to do smaller projects in the interim, such as the extension of the emergency department that my local NHS trust is asking for, or possibly even to move out of Phase 2 into Phase 1 if they can prove that they are ready to go. Mr Speaker, it's been about a year since we've had a substantive update from the government on the new hospitals programme, and this National Audit Office report last week presents lots of questions. So I wonder whether the Leader of the House can ask the relevant Health Minister to come to the dispatch box to answer questions that the NAO report raises.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The RAC replacement scheme has been folded into the new hospital programme, as the honourable gentleman acknowledges, a major government plan to rebuild and refurbish NHS hospitals. This will, we believe, give a greater return on investment, enhance digital technology and improve emergency performance. Patients and staff deserve safe modern hospitals and an NHS that they can rely on. The reality, as the honourable gentleman has said, is that plans were announced by the previous government without the money ever being there to pay for them. I can offer him a meeting with ministers to raise his constituency matters, if that is what he wishes, but also draw to the attention of ministers his remarks about the recent report, and I'm sure they'll be willing to update the House.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Jono, Sam and the rest of the team at the GOAT Sports Bar in Nantwich have breathed new life into this part of the town. Unfortunately, last month, Jono's stepdad suffered a cardiac arrest while in the bar and tragically passed away. Now, the team at GOAT are leading efforts to turn that tragedy into something positive by fundraising for defibrillators in the town, having already raised enough for 6 defibrillators and having a further 1 defibrillator directly donated. Will the Leader of the House join me in commending their efforts, and will he also encourage people and services across Crewe and Nantwich to support this effort to save lives?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I will join my honourable friend in commending the work of the GOAT Sports Bar and their fundraising efforts after this tragic loss. Our community AED fund has delivered thousands of new AEDs to local communities recently. But as always, local communities are best placed to take the lead in providing them where they are most needed. I think this will be a very good topic for a Westminster Hall debate, Mr Speaker, because I'm sure colleagues across the House will share my honourable friend's concerns.
Chair of the Backbench Committee, Bob Blackman.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And as you all know, Mr Speaker, reform in this House occasionally moves very slowly. So I do thank the Leader of the House for confirming that the experiment on the dealing with estimates day debates, which started in 2018, will now be confirmed going forward in the future. And I'd be grateful if the Leader could give us early warning of when the estimates day debates will be this year, so that we can do the process of allocating the debates. In addition to the business that the Leader has announced, in Westminster Hall next Tuesday there'll be a debate on UK bus manufacturing. On Thursday there'll be a debate on non-recognition of Russian-occupied territories of Ukraine, followed by a debate on protecting and restoring river habitats. On Tuesday the 3rd of February in Westminster Hall there'll be a debate on town and city centre safety. On Thursday the 5th of February there will be a debate on secondary breast cancer and a further debate which we'll announce next week. Now, Mr Speaker, we have a queue now of debates for the Chamber which will take us to the summer recess. We have a queue of debates for Westminster Hall debates on the Tuesday that will take us to the Whitsun recess. And we're processing those debates as fast as we can. So any time that the Leader can allocate to us, we will fill as appropriate. Now, Mr Speaker, it's been drawn to my attention this week that a company called Al Mizrah TV have been operating in this country for 10 years. They are owned by the Houthis, a proscribed organisation in the United States, and there is a risk that these people are using the opportunity to avoid our visa system, to launder money, and also encourage terrorist activities in this country. This is a serious concern, obviously, for national security. So I would ask the leader to encourage the Security Minister to come and give us a statement on what action is going to be taken to make sure that this company is in compliance with our rules and regulations, and indeed, if it isn't, then it should be removed from this country and our country made safe.
Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First of all, can I thank the honourable gentleman for his update and for the work of his committee. I will confirm the estimate days as soon as I can. And also, I've heard his request for more time, and as he knows, we do endeavour to comply with those requests as best we can. In terms of the issue which he raises about Al Mazrah TV, we keep all evidence and potential designations under close review. We will consider targets guided by the objectives of the relevant sanction regime and the evidence which is provided. We do not presently prescribe the Houthis as a terrorist organisation, but that situation remains under constant review, and we continue to use our full diplomatic toolkit, including sanctions, to constrain their activities. I'll make sure, Mr. Speaker, that the relevant minister hears his concern and ensure that he gets a response from them.
Whereas, Mr. Speaker, in the 2021 census, despite the disturbing absence of a tick box, over 117,000 Cornish people registered their identity by having to click Other and then type in Cornish. With the current consultation on the 2031 census due to close on the 4th of February, does the Leader of the House agree with me that this farce must end and that the ONS must add a Cornish identifier tick box to the 2031 census?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My honourable friend is a stalwart campaigner for his Cornish heritage, consistently raising the profile of the Cornish language in this House, and I commend him for that because it is an important part of the identity of his constituents. I support him in calling for those who wish to respond to the consultation to do so before it closes next month, and I'm also sure that the Office of National Statistics have heard his words this morning.
Sir Gavin Williamson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Like so many colleagues in this House, I'm blessed with some amazing canals that crisscross my constituency that are maintained by the Canal and River Trust. Sadly, in two villages in Brood and Penkridge, we've seen a collapse of those bridges. That means that local residents aren't able to use them and access them, which is causing a great deal of inconvenience. Could we have a debate in this House about the funding that the Canal and River Trust receives? Because, quite simply, it just doesn't go far enough to maintain these amazing heritage assets that are used every day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me join the Right Honourable gentleman in praising the work of the Canal and Rivers Trust. They do a fantastic job. I'll raise his concerns with the relevant department. I'm trying to work out exactly where their funding might come from, but when I do that, I'll raise it with the relevant department. But it sounds to me, Mr. Speaker, because of the proud heritage that we have of canals in our country, this would make an excellent topic, perhaps for an adjournment debate, so that other colleagues would be able to contribute on this very important matter.
Lee Stoltz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Replacing Oxford's Kennington Bridge would secure critical transport links and unblock the Oxford Flood Alleviation Scheme. OFAS, named in the government's infrastructure strategy, would protect jobs, homes and people. Can I ask the Leader of the House how we can ensure that departments work with each other, including in relation to the forthcoming Structures Fund, to support projects like this that have positive outcomes for a range of government priorities? And can we have a debate on this subject in government time?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I first of all congratulate my right honourable friend on her award in the New Year's Honours. It was extremely well received and very, very well deserved, Mr. Speaker. And can I also thank you for raising this matter? I know that she's been very vocal with regards to the replacement of the Kennington rail bridge. She's already raised this matter with ministers, but I'll be happy to facilitate a meeting with them to continue to allow her to continue to make her case for her constituents.
Very well.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The matter of West Midlands Police and the Maccabi Tel Aviv
football match have been rightly raised in this place. So does the Leader of the House agree, though, that when police conduct falls away well below acceptable standards, as it did in the West Midlands, then elected police and crime commissioners really should be taking full responsibility, showing leadership, and must be held to account for their actions?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Home Secretary has been absolutely clear about the failure of leadership that has harmed the reputation and eroded public confidence in West Midlands Police. The ultimate responsibility for the failure rests with the Chief Constable. But also one would expect police and crime commissioners, though we have given a commitment on the future police and crime commissioners, we would expect police and crime commissioners to step up to the mark there as well. But the Home Secretary has been very clear about seeking the power to intervene directly so that Chief Constables can be held directly to account.
Chris Inchliff.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Lieutenant Run Hearts County has been looking at closing several village schools in my constituency, with a decision due soon on Albury Primary School. I won't ask the Leader of the House to comment on particular cases, but speaking to parents and the local communities, it has been absolutely clear that these schools not just provide a fantastic education, but are right at the heart of rural life. So can we have a debate on the importance of village schools and what more we can do nationally to support them?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank my honourable friend for raising this important issue. He's a very keen campaigner on behalf of his constituents. This is an opportunity to perhaps raise it directly with ministers at questions on Monday, or perhaps to seek an adjournment debate on this matter. His local authority funding has increased by 8.1%, so it is important that local schools are prioritised in that. But I'll also ensure that the relevant minister hears his concerns.
Tessima.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Changes to income tax reporting from April mean that childminders need to claim tax relief on specific purchases rather than the current 10% wear and tear allowance. Deanne, one of my local childminders, points out that wear and tear is a daily reality, and there are very few professionals who face very young children in the stages of potty training, sickness, learning to eat with a spoon and fork, drink with an open cup, and they put her clients and other clients put carpets and furniture through their paces. So could the Leader of the House speak to his Treasury colleagues about reinstating this allowance or introducing an alternative mechanism to recognise the real costs of providing home-based childcare?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Lady raised a very important matter, and I give her a commitment that I will speak to my colleagues in the Treasury to see what further support we can give to people working in that sector.
Lorraine Beavers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My constituent Katie Brett's little sister was brutally murdered when she was 16 years of age. Katie is campaigning for Sasha's Law to give victims' families longer to apply to the unduly lenient sentence scheme. It is the duty of the Labour government to make sure the rights of victims and their families always come first. As the Victims and Courts Bill progresses through the other place, will the Leader of the House help ensure that the government listens to those like Katie who are fighting for the justice for their loved ones?
Leader. Mr. Speaker, my honourable friend raises an important case, and I commend Katie's campaign. The murder of Sasha Brett was a tragedy, and my thoughts are with Katie and the rest of the family. We have invested a record £550 million over 3 years into specialist services to support victims and witnesses, but we're also clear that there's a lot more that needs to be done. She is right to say that the Victims and Courts Bill is making its way through the House of Lords, and I'll make sure that bill ministers and the department have heard my honourable friend today.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And since the budget, the hospitality industry has been very, very anxious. Now, we've heard from the Treasury and the Chancellor herself that a package is coming forward. So I spoke in the budget debate asking questions when this package will come forward. We've had urgent questions about it. We've had an opposition day debate. Even in Finance Bill number 2, we asked the Minister directly, when is the package coming forward? We still need those answers for pubs, restaurants, cafes, hotels, all inclusively, to know who's in, who's out. So will he ask the Chancellor to come to this House next week to make a statement on exactly this to end the anxiety in the hospitality industry?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable gentleman know the seriousness of this matter, because it's been not just a matter for his constituents but for every constituency. The Chancellor has made it clear that we are looking at this. I shall put it this way: in the coming days, I hope, will get what he asks for.
Ewan Steinbach.
Mr. Speaker, my constituent Mary plans to retire next week. Despite applying to resolve for civil service pension in early summer last year, this has still not been resolved. I wrote to Capita about this immediately, but currently there is little prospect of Mary's pension being resolved before she plans to retire. We are seeing too many of these prolonged delays cropping up. Would the Leader support me on calling on Capita to clearly spell out an urgent resolution to this and all other cases it being seriously prolonged?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My honourable friend raises an important matter and isn't the first member to do so. I understand that Capita have recognised the scale of the issue and is recruiting additional staff to deal with this matter. But I would urge them, with my honourable friend, to get on with it. I know this will bring little comfort to Mary and many others, but I hope that there can be progress. And should my honourable friend seek a meeting with the Minister to discuss these matters, then I'll arrange that.
Claire Young.
Mr. Speaker, when I make inquiries on behalf of constituents about delays at the child maintenance service, I too often face a long wait for a response despite chasing. The longest is currently 4 months and 20 days. Will the Leader of the House allow a debate in government time on this issue so the Secretary of State can hear the harm this is doing?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The honourable lady raises a concern that I know is felt by members again across the House. I'll ensure that the Secretary of State is aware of the honourable lady's concerns and, if necessary, bring forward an update on what our plans for improvement.
Alice MacDonald.
Speaker. Last week I visited the YMCA Centre on Elsham Road in Norwich. They are doing incredible work to address youth homelessness. Will the Leader join me in celebrating 170 years of YMCA Norfolk this year and make time for a debate on how best to support vulnerable young people in accessing safe, secure and affordable housing?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My honourable friend is right to champion the work of the YMCA Centre in her constituency, but I think we could echo that in every constituency where the YMCA have a presence. They do an absolutely fantastic job. We are committed to ending homelessness and have invested £3.5 billion over the next 3 years. But I would encourage her perhaps to apply for an adjournment debate, not only to highlight the importance of the work that the YMCA is doing, but also what other measures are necessary to support vulnerable young people to access safe, secure and affordable housing.
Andrew Rosner.
Mr. Speaker, sir, nearly a decade ago, on the 17th of November 2016, the Leader of the House will remember that I asked a question on the subject of the resettlement and subsequent self-determination of the Chagos Islanders. The then Minister, Sir Alan Duncan, shamefully said, and I quote, "We do not consider that the right of self-determination actually applies to the Chagossians." So given that position was taken by the last Conservative government and that the current Labour government have gone further still, surrendering their home without consent, will the Leader of the House find time for a debate on the right of self-determination for the Chagossian people and end the bipartisan failure and injustice that has left an entire people without a voice for 60 years?
Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I gently point out that Alan Duncan was a minister in the government that the honourable gentleman supported. But in terms of the Chagos deal and self-determination, the base is vital for our intelligence and defence, and our deal does provide certainty going forward and is supported by allies, but it's also going through this House. There is a chance that it will come back for further discussion and debate, and I'm sure the honourable gentleman will be able to make his case when that happens.
Jim McMahon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Waspy women are still waiting for justice and for closure.
The out-of-court agreement reached in December between campaigners and the government saw the DWP agree to a time-limited period to conduct a review. But the Parliamentary Ombudsman investigation took 6 years alone before reaching its findings and recommendations on compensation. Given how many constituencies and constituents are affected, can we have a debate in government time on the impact of this and urge the government to come forward with a firm proposal?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Secretary of State has made clear that he is looking at this matter as a matter of urgency and will bring forward his proposals at the earliest opportunity and give my honourable friend the opportunity to comment at that point.
Lincoln John.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The news has broken that the first asylum seekers have been moved into the Crowborough barracks in Sussex overnight. The Minister for Border Security and Asylum stood at that dispatch box and told me that the Stanwell Hotel in my Spelthorne constituency would not be kept open as an asylum hotel for a minute longer than was necessary. So could the Leader of the House please use his good offices to encourage the Home Office to come here to make a statement on Monday, which I'm sure will be of interest across the House, to find out where the asylum seekers that have been moved into Crowborough barracks have been drawn from?
Mr. Speaker, I will certainly draw to the attention of the relevant minister the honourable gentleman's concerns. It is important that we make progress on this matter, and that does involve change, but it's important that members are kept up to date with that. So I will ensure that his remarks are drawn to the attention of the minister, and I'll get him an update on these matters.
Tulips.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House will be aware of the horrific case of sexual abuse that took place in one of my local nurseries in Hampstead and Highgate. The parents, who've shown amazing resilience, feel very strongly if the nursery has CCTV, then the perpetrator, Vincent Chan, wouldn't have been able to get away with these horrific crimes for 7 whole years. So could I ask the Leader of the House, will he help me in persuading the government that we need mandatory CCTV in local nurseries with secure local monitoring and restricted remote access for parents to safeguard the future of our children?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank my honourable friend for raising this matter. She's doing an excellent job in advocating for her constituents on what is an appalling case. The Secretary of State for Education will be appointing an expert panel to inform new guidance for the sector on the use of digital devices and CCTV in relation to safeguarding. And this review will also consider whether the use of CCTV should be mandatory. The Department will, Mr. Speaker, welcome member engagement during that review.
Luke Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Residents in Sutton and Cheam are seeing the very real impact of the cost of living crisis. It may sound like a cliche, but they're seeing the impact in their energy bills, in their rent, but particularly in their food and grocery prices. Staples like eggs, milk, butter have increased exponentially, and the price of treats like chocolate have increased. 45 pence for a Freddo bar shows the scale of the crisis more than anything. Will the government schedule a debate to discuss how we can tangibly bring about solutions to the cost of living crisis, including consideration of measures such as negotiating a bespoke customs union deal? Whilst he will tell me that it's not in the government's mandate, it is definitely in mine, standing on a Liberal Democrat manifesto, to push that if I am elected.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The cost of living is a priority for this government. Tackling the cost of living is a priority for this government. It's not just a matter of picking one particular aspect of that. It's making sure that every department has a role to play in reducing the cost of living for our constituents. Then that is what they should get on and do. He mentioned energy bills as well as Freddos, and I just remind him that we have reduced energy bills by £150 for every household, including his constituents. In terms of a deal with the EU, the government's position is very clear. The Cabinet Office Minister spelt this out earlier today, and there will be ample opportunity going forward to discuss the merits of that deal.
Justice Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I recently visited Community Dental Services in my constituency, which is supporting the rollout of our very welcome supervised toothbrushing in schools programme. As we know, dental decay is the leading cause of hospital admissions for young children. And yet, a number of schools in my area are declining to take part. Can I therefore ask the Leader of the House to find government time for a debate on how we can improve the uptake of this vital policy?
Leader. Thank you, Madam Mr Deputy Speaker. My honourable friend raises an important issue, and she rightly points out dental health is of vital importance. We have provided £11 million in funding for local authorities to support toothbrushing programmes starting in April, along with a 5-year partnership with the private sector. She raises the issue of schools' involvement. Of course, I would encourage schools. It is a matter ultimately for schools, but I would encourage schools to make best use of that funding and to take part in that programme. It is so important to the health of children going forward. But to add further detail to this, Mr Speaker, should my honourable friend seek an adjournment debate on these matters, I'm sure other members will join her in expressing their concern too.
John Cooper.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Has the fish supper had its chips? Because fish and chips, so critical to morale during wartime that Churchill insisted they were never rationed. But now my constituent, Romano Petrucci, proprietor of the Central Cafe in my hometown of Stranraer, warns that this staple is becoming an unaffordable luxury. I appreciate the government doesn't set the price of fish and chips, but nonetheless it's a cross-cutting issue for government, whether it be through fish quotas, whether it be energy prices, whether it be the cost of hiring. Having tried and failed to get either a Westminster Hall debate in this or an adjournment debate, can I ask for guidance how we might air this issue here?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Speaking as the constituency Member of Parliament with the best fish and chips in the country, that is simply a matter of record, Mr Speaker. It's not a matter of dispute. Look, it is pretty obvious, Mr Speaker, that the price of fish and chips has gone up in recent times. There are many reasons for that. But everyone involved in that food chain deserves to be properly paid for the valuable work that they do. And I would gently point out, as a constituency member with a fishing fleet, the price of fish is often a very high price for the fishermen who go out and do still the most dangerous peacetime job. So let's not undersell the importance of fisheries. He says there are things that the government can do in their gift, and I'm sure the government will be looking at that. But should he seek a meeting with the Fisheries Minister to discuss these matters, I'm sure I can arrange it.
Dr Becky Cooper.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. It is a concern that I raise the issue of FIFA deepening its commercial ties to the betting industry by letting gambling operators live stream World Cup games this year. Will the Leader of the House therefore ask the Department of Culture, Media and Sport and Health Ministers to review this urgent matter, given that severe gambling harms directly affect at least 1.5 million adults across the UK?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My honourable friend raises an important matter. This is a worrying development, given the known link between marketing and gambling participation and the harms associated with online gambling. I'll draw this to the attention of the Minister for Gambling in the Department for Culture, Media and Sport and ensure that my honourable friend gets a response.
Jim Ramsey.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. This week we have seen at last the government's national security assessment and its stark warning that global biodiversity loss and ecosystem collapse threaten UK security and prosperity. Given these catastrophic risks, can the Leader of the House explain why the publication of this report was delayed from October? And can we have a debate about what the government's doing to step up the vital preparedness for these risks, and whether they're ensuring that the nature and climate emergency is treated as a major national security priority?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Sometimes the delay of reports, which is not uncommon, it's regrettable but it's not uncommon, it is due to the importance of the matter and important that we get it right. And therefore, if there's been a delay, as I say, it's unfortunate, but the report, as he rightly points out, is to be absolutely welcomed. Once that report has been considered, then I will look to find time so that members can debate these matters, given the importance of the issue.
Oliver Ryan.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I appreciate it. Burnley's local bus operator, Transdev,
have increased the price of an under-19s bus ticket from £13 to £20 a week, which is a huge increase for kids, for students, for families and others. They've now lowered that to £18 a week thanks to our campaign, but it's not enough. Over 1,000 people have backed my campaign to bring down fares and reintroduce a local Burnley bus ticket. Will the Leader of the House give us a debate on government time about the price of bus tickets in Burnley, and will he back my campaign?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My honourable friend is an assiduous campaigner for his constituents, and I thank him for that. As he knows, we've capped bus fares at £3 until at least March 2027, but he raises the matter of the reality in local areas. I will raise his case with the Secretary of State and ensure if he wants a meeting, he'll get a meeting. If not, then he will certainly get a response.
Martin Vickers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. North East Lincolnshire Council has just received a planning application for 3,500 homes in the strategic gap between Laceby and my constituency in the west of Grimsby. When these developments are proposed, the developer usually says we'll provide a new school, doctor's surgery and so on, but that doesn't guarantee, of course, that the doctors or the teachers will be available. Could the Leader of the House get a minister along here to explain how, given the government's relaxation of local input into planning applications, this can be resolved?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The honourable gentleman raises an important matter. These planning matters are best resolved locally, but I would agree with him that developers have a responsibility to the wider community. The government is very keen to ensure that the infrastructure is in place, including schools, and we are recruiting more teachers so that we've got the people to actually teach in the schools as well. I will raise his concerns with the relevant minister. If he wants a meeting to discuss these matters, I'll help him to get one.
Okay. Ian Lavery.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's the posties who deliver our post that keep this country functioning. They do an absolutely tremendous job. It's an essential public service, and at the heart of the service is the USO. That's a universal service obligation. It's a legal duty to ensure that delivery of mail to all UK addresses at price for 6 days a week, with first class with the next day delivery. But you know what? The USO is failing. People in my patch and Blythe and Ashton are raging with the late arrival of important medical documents, NHS appointments, financial documentation and other important correspondence, causing huge distress. This is apparently as a result of a failure to address staff shortages and the prioritisation of parcels over post. Can my right honourable friend arrange a debate at government time to discuss the failings of the Royal Mail and the acute problems it's causing some of our most vulnerable constituents?
So later and everything. Come on.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I join my honourable friend in thanking all postal workers for their hard work over the busy Christmas period? I'm disappointed to hear that some of his constituents are not receiving their mail on good time. Unfortunately, that's happening across many constituencies, including my own, and the public rightly expects a well-run postal service with letters arriving on time. I do know that Royal Mail pays close attention to issues raised at business questions and other opportunities in this House, so I hope that they have heard the message, but would also encourage him to apply for an legitimate debate on these matters, because it's not just a matter for his constituents, it's a matter for many other constituencies as well.
Joe.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My constituent's 11-year-old son perforated his eardrum in July and was referred for paediatric ENT treatment. They were then informed of a 12 to 14 months waiting list for standard referrals and no indication of when the treatment might start. Understandably, they're very worried about delays causing long-term damage to their son's hearing. Surely the leader will agree this is a real concern and not the service that our constituents expect or deserve from our NHS. This is a workforce issue. So will he allow a debate in government time on addressing waiting times for ENT treatment?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a matter of concern not just to the honourable gentleman, but I'm sure to the the family and friends of the young man involved. It is simply the case, Mr. Speaker, that waiting lists overall are coming down, but there are particular issues in parts of the service, and we're doing our best to tackle that. We're also doing our best to recruit the specialists for those services as well. But I will ensure that the Health Minister hears of the Honourable Gentleman's concerns, hopefully to see what further can be done, but also if the Honourable Gentleman wishes to go into further detail, that he is able to do so at a meeting with the Minister.
Catherine Atkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This week I met 19-year-old Jack Billingham, third-year Derby Rolls-Royce apprentice who won gold at the National Welding Championships in November and is representing the UK at the World Skills International competition in Japan. Mr. Speaker, I had a go at virtual reality welding and I will admit that Jack's score was a little higher than mine. At a time when the UK faces a national shortage of welders and other critical manufacturing skills, could we have a debate on how we strengthen the skills pipeline and support apprenticeships for good, skilled British manufacturing jobs?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the honourable friend and send my congratulations, I'm sure, on behalf of the House to Jack Billingham for winning gold at the National Welding Championships. We are already making efforts to support young people, investing £1.5 billion to deliver 50,000 more apprenticeships and 350,000 more new workplace opportunities. But there's a great deal more that needs to be done, not least as we seek to improve and renew the infrastructure of our country. I'd encourage my honourable friend to apply for a debate, an adjournment debate, to investigate further how we can promote high-skilled manufacturing jobs. Should be unsuccessful in that, I'll look to do so in government time.
Anne Davies.
Our Mr Llefarydd, the PMQ question yesterday from my honourable friend, the member from East Londonderry, rang a bell with me. Many of my constituents are waiting for their civil service pension, which is being administered by Capita. For example, Sarah Elizabeth Rees, who had to retire due to ill health in February last year. A year on, she still hasn't had her pension and has nothing to support her or to pay her bills. We've written five letters to the relevant department. We've had one reply, which was really asking for confirmation of name, address and national insurance number. This really isn't good enough, and so I would ask kindly if the Leader of the House would allow in government time a debate to fully discuss the issues which have arisen across the whole of the House for all our constituents. Chock about.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. As I said to my honourable friend earlier, Capita have recognised the scale of the issue and are recruiting additional staff to deal with the issue, but of course there are issues for particular departments as well, and I will draw the case and her disappointment to ministers in that department. It will be a popular topic for an adjournment debate, Mr Speaker, should the Honourable Lady be successful in achieving that, because we've already seen it's not just an issue in her constituency, it's an issue in many others too.
Just Southwell.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My constituent Ahmed, a senior skilled worker at Queen's Hospital, has not seen his wife Isra for 2 years as she remains trapped in Gaza. Ahmed applied for a spousal visa, but Isra has been unable to enrol her biometrics because the Gaza Visa Application Centre has been closed since 2024, and no safe route to an alternative centre exists. The original application has expired and the second application faces the same barrier with no access to a visa application centre. Isra's home has been bombed, leaving her without shelter or basic necessities. Will the Leader of the House urge the Home Secretary to consider alternative arrangements such as the deferred biometrics so that those lawfully working here can evacuate their spouses from Gaza?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My honourable friend raises an important case on behalf of his constituent. I understand he's already written to the Home Office, Mr Speaker, about this matter, but I will be happy to follow up that with the Home Office to ensure that he gets a response, and should he seek a meeting with ministers to see what further can be done, then I'll seek to facilitate that as well.
Christine Jardine.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. A number of businesses, particularly care homes in my constituency of Edinburgh West, have approached me with concerns about the salary limits for migrants. Migrants already in this country who have trained here, who have qualified here, are finding it difficult to reach those standards to remain. So would it be possible to have a meeting with a minister from the Exchequer, from the Treasury team, to discuss the impact this is having not just on those sectors, but on the economy?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll ensure that the Honourable Lady gets a meeting with the relevant minister so she can take this issue further.
Amanda Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Residents and developers in Portsmouth are facing repeated delays from Council Planning Department, despite clear assurances from the Council to me that the long-promised green light for the Tipner East development, it has stalled again. Mr. Speaker, these delays are actively driving the growth of HMOs, damaging Portsmouth's reputation and holding back action on the housing crisis. Can the Leader of the House tell me what mechanisms are available to members of this House to hold Portsmouth City Council to account, force transparency over these planning delays and secure faster, more effective decision-making to build the much-needed homes in my city?
Leader. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank my honourable friend for raising this matter. The government, as she knows, is dedicated to ending the housing crisis. We've already delivered 231,000 new homes since the election, and our reforms will lead to the highest level in over 40 years. But that has to be delivered at a local level. I will reach out to the relevant minister, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that my honourable friend gets the information required on the specific issues she raises and discuss what further action can be done.
Shocker Adam.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sadly, on Boxing Day, Leicester lost one of its finest, Councillor Manjula Sood, MBE. Manjula Sood had been a Labour councillor for 25 years, worked for countless charities and worked so hard for community cohesion, but in 2008 had the honour of becoming UK's first Asian female Lord Mayor. But for me, she will always be known as Mrs. Sood, as my junior school teacher. So will the Leader of the House commemorate Mrs. Sood and also maybe make time in this chamber for an annual debate where we can commemorate all local champions who truly put great into Great Britain?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I don't know where I get that from. Mr. Speaker, I certainly join with the honourable gentleman in paying tribute to Councillor Massoon, not just for her invaluable work for the local community, but also to education too. I'll certainly take away his suggestion of an annual debate so that we can mark the contribution of people like Councillor Massoon. I'll give it some thought.
Lee Pitcher.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last Thursday, my honourable friend, the member of Doncaster Central, raised the unacceptable waits for audiology services in Doncaster, with some people waiting years for basic hearing tests and hearing aid support. This goes for my constituents in Doncaster East and the Isle of Axholme as well. Long waits, repeat appointments and people left without working hearing aids. It's not right, it's not good enough, and I will not accept this anymore. Will the Leader of the House ask ministers to set out how they are supporting the local trust to speed up assessments and hearing aid provision and to prevent people being left without the basics?
Leader. Mr. Speaker, as I have said previously, and indeed to a previous answer, audiology is a vital part of healthcare. I will ensure that the relevant minister is aware of my honourable friend's concerns and update him on what plans the government has to improve these services as fast as we possibly can.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I echo the Leader's Burns Night greetings for Sunday? Will the Leader join me as co-chair of the All-Party Nuclear Group in congratulating the Nuclear Industries Association and all those in the nuclear industry who ensured the success of the 5th Nuclear Week in Parliament this week, showcasing all aspects of the industry from new build to decommissioning and the supply chain, allowing numerous engagement opportunities for MPs. So can we have a debate on the benefits that the nuclear industry is bringing to England and Wales in terms of jobs and economic growth and energy security, so that Scottish members like myself can once again expose the shameful conduct of the Scottish Government in using their planning powers to block new nuclear development in Scotland to the detriment of my constituency and Scotland?
Thank you. Leader. Mr. Speaker, I thank the honourable gentleman for raising the work of the Nuclear Industries Association and the success of the 5th Nuclear Week in Parliament. The government supports, as he knows, the nuclear industry and has committed £17 billion for an ambitious nuclear programme. It is a pity that that ambition is not shared by the SNP, who on these matters seem to care little about jobs and little about greater energy security that are associated with projects like these. There will be ample opportunity, Mr Speaker, as we set out the government's proposals on these matters for the honourable gentleman to raise his concerns.
Liam Connell.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Melvin Hall Community Centre has served the community of Penge for over 50 years and was home to incredible community initiatives and charities like the Beckenham and Penge Gateway Club, supporting adults with learning disabilities and their families. Sadly, just before Christmas, Melvin Hall closed after Conservative-run Bromley Council imposed unjust and unaffordable rent hikes. Along with the fantastic Labour councillors in Penge and over 1,000 people from across our community who have signed my petition, we are now fighting to save Melvin Hall and keep it in community hands. Will the Leader of the House join me in calling on Tory-run Bromley Council to ensure that Melvin Hall remains a community space, and thanking everyone who has supported this campaign so far?
Leader.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I thank my honourable friend for raising this important issue and for his campaign to save Melvin Hall by keeping it in community hands. Their work supports adults with learning disabilities and their families. The work is admirable, Mr Speaker, and I congratulate them for that. It's a good opportunity to remind the House that I often criticise the lack of support by reform councils for the local communities, but we mustn't forget the dreadful record often of Conservative councils too. Our new community right to buy, introduced through the English Devolution and Community Empowerment Bill, will give communities stronger powers to take ownership of their vital assets. But I wish my honourable friend and his campaigners all the very best in this particular campaign.
Martin Wrigley.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. We hear an awful lot from the government about building sovereign digital capabilities in the UK. We also hear this morning about Britain becoming Britain's biggest customer. And yet we see government procurement continuing to go to large American giant providers in the MOD, in the NHS, even in the Cabinet Office. Will the Leader of the House make government time in this chamber for us to debate the meaning of what a sovereign AI capability is and how we might change our government procurement to enable our British firms to be able to bid for these intensely important elements of government mechanism?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'd encourage the honourable gentleman perhaps to apply for an adjournment debate and hear from the Minister directly, because I think what he would find, I expect what he would find, is that the government shares his ambition for contracts and work going to British companies. It's at the heart of our industrial strategy.
Charlie Jewess.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Now, my right honourable friend, the Shadow Leader of the House, mentioned PFI contracts earlier. I think it's particularly pertinent as a lot of those come to an end. This is impacting a number of schools in my constituency in Bridlington and the Wolds, where work is suddenly not being done, costs are going up. One school's carried out a survey where it says it's going to cost £3.5 million to bring it back up to a safe standard, and a concern that the company that should be carrying out that work will declare itself bankrupt, leaving the school and the local authority with the bill. I suspect this is not an isolated case, and that members across the House will be aware of similar issues. So can we have a debate in government time on PFI contracts and their impact on public services?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. As the honourable gentleman will have just heard, it is a concern which is shared across the House. I would invite him to apply either for Westminster Hall debate or an adjournment debate, so that he and colleagues on both sides of the Houses can raise those concerns, because, as I say, they're clearly shared across the House.
Paul Wall.
Mr Speaker, from the Flying Horse to the Bob, from Niccolo Delvino to the Oxford, from the Spring Inn to the Moorcock, we're really lucky in Rochdale and Littleborough to have some fantastic pubs and bars. But many of them are worried about business rates. So will the Leader give me some assurance that we'll urgently get a government package of support to support our pubs and the pub industry? Because then we can start saying, back again in Rochdale, up the dale and down the ale.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I know that my honourable friend is a staunch supporter of local pubs in his constituency and has a remarkable knowledge of them. In the budget, as he knows, we did put £4.3 billion of support over 3 years to help pubs. But we do recognise, Mr Speaker, that pubs are still worried, which is why the Chancellor is actively considering a pub support package to make sure that the right support is in place. And as I said in answer to someone on the other side of the House, I expect that that will be announced in the coming days.
Jim Shannon.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Can I thank the Leader of the House again for all his answers. If I can, I would like to turn attention to Mexico. There have been recent reports of persecution and intimidation of Christians, with some 376 incidents of the assault or abductions of Christians in Mexico in the last couple of years, quite worrying. These reports raise concerns about the protection of freedom of religion or belief. Will the Leader please ask the Foreign Secretary to set out what representations government has made to the Mexican authorities regarding these reports, and what steps have been taken to support freedom of religion or belief in Mexico? Thank you so much.
Mr Speaker, I thank the honourable gentleman for his question. Our embassy in Mexico monitors the human rights situation in Mexico very closely, and we continue to engage regularly on human rights matters. That includes the rights of religious minorities and related issues with the Mexican authorities. As he knows, because we've exchanged on a number of occasions, the UK is committed to defending freedom of religion or belief for all, and I'll ensure that the Foreign Secretary hears his concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Earlier this week, I met with our colleagues and friends in our sister party in Denmark to express our solidarity with the difficult context that they face, but also to learn from some of their successful social democratic policies which we could adopt over here, including on immigration and the economy, one of which is a change to their pensions context to ensure that those who have worked in manual labour roles are able to take voluntary early retirement schemes while others have later retirement. I wonder if the government could consider this and other policies that they've done so successfully in Denmark to make sure we're looking after working class people in working communities like mine.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My honourable friend raised a very interesting issue, and the government wants to ensure, obviously, that people can look forward to a comfortable retirement. And there's a strong history, Mr Speaker, not least in the history of old age and employment-related pensions, to learning from other countries and best practice in other countries. We have the pension scheme bill progressing through the Lords, and I will raise my honourable friend's concerns with ministers, because he certainly raises interesting points.
Andy MacDonald.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Yesterday, MPs heard from some of the international NGOs whose Israeli registration to operate in Palestine will be terminated, and from the 1st of March will no longer be able to provide critical aid. In Gaza, the suffering and the killings have not stopped. In bitter winter conditions, delays are preventing critical food, medical, hygiene and shelter supplies from entering Gaza. Many still face starvation, and the birth rate has dropped by over 40% in the past year, and newborns are not surviving. And whilst Israel prevents the work of aid organisations, the UK continues its membership of the Civil Military Coordination Centre, which is meant to facilitate the flow of humanitarian assistance into Gaza, part of the state of Palestine the UK now recognises. So can we have a debate in government time to explore the exposure of the UK to this restriction via the CMCC, and what measures the UK can take, economic and otherwise, to ensure that these UK public-funded agencies can continue to deliver aid and help bring this catastrophe in the state of Palestine to an end.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. We desperately need to get humanitarian aid into Gaza, as my honourable friend has said, not just on this occasion but on many occasions too, and I understand his frustration on these matters because he cares deeply on these matters. We do continue to press for the crossings to be reopened and restrictions on aid to be lifted. We are members of various bodies that can be used for an influence on these matters. It's much more important that we are engaged in these organisations so that we can work through these issues and ensure that aid flows as quickly as possible and in the quantities that are required. I will ensure that the relevant minister has heard my honourable friend and that he gets an update not only on what we're doing but what further plans we have.
Frank Mandela.
Thank you very much, Mr
Speaker, I'm very grateful to what my right honourable friend has said today in response to a number of honourable members regarding capita. Many have not received payments, including my constituent Mrs Costello, a former civil servant who retired in April 2025. Despite submitting all paperwork on time and receiving approval, she has yet to receive any confirmation of her lump sum or her annual pension. Will the Leader of the House make time for a statement or a debate on this matter, given the unacceptable levels of delays and uncertainty affecting Mrs Costello and many others like her?
Leader. Thank you, Mr Speaker. I thank my honourable friend for raising this issue. He's a doughty campaigner for his constituents. As we've said previously, Capita have recognised the scale of the issue and are recruiting additional staff to deal with these matters, but I can sense the frustration, I hear the frustration from across the House, because although we can talk about making progress, that's of little comfort to Mrs Costello and others who are still waiting. So I will arrange a meeting for my honourable friend and others from across the House, if they seek one, to meet with the relevant Cabinet Office Minister to further make the case.
Jenny Riddle-Carpenter.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Earlier this week, students in Year 11 at Felixstowe School were told they wouldn't be able to continue their studies beyond Year 11 at the school because the school is not continuing with sixth form provision. As you can imagine, this has caused huge worry for parents and students at Felixstowe School. I have written to the Secretary of State about this and the worries that I have about withdrawal of sixth form education from our town. Will the Leader of the House help ensure that I secure this meeting quickly, as time is clearly of the essence?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. First of all, can I express my sympathies to concerned parents and students. Indeed, from time to time in my own constituency, we've seen similar issues arise. I do appreciate the concern and uncertainty that this creates. She knows that this government is committed to opportunity for all, and the vital importance of education is absolutely central to that. So I will ensure that she gets a meeting with the Minister so that she can follow this up as a matter of urgency.
Brandisham.
Good morning, Mr Speaker. Councillors across Scotland are preparing budgets and considering options put forward from officers that will mean cuts to vital public services. In Grangemouth, local residents are rightly worried about the proposals to withdraw maintenance of the beautiful Zetland Park and the closure of the Grangemouth Sports Complex, removing swimming and leisure facilities. These proposed cuts would be awful for Grangemouth residents of all ages. Will the Leader of the House join me in praising my constituents as they stand up for our communities and agree that the only thing that should be cut in Grangemouth is the grass at Zetland Park?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr Speaker. First of all, can I praise the efforts of local people in Grangemouth. As he knows, council funding in Scotland is a devolved matter, but as I've said on a number of occasions, the UK Government did deliver the largest spending review settlement in the history of the Scottish Parliament, so there is no way for local authorities and indeed the Scottish Government to hide on matters such as these. Residents in Grangemouth should expect to see that record funding deliver the services that they need and they enjoy. So let me wish him and his campaigners luck in their efforts.
Martin Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I recently visited Hawthorne Housing Cooperative in my constituency, a registered social landlord since 1987, which provides homes and services to around 364 tenant members. Given this government's strong support for the cooperative movement and the work that housing cooperatives such as Hawthorne do in communities like Postal in my constituency, would the Leader of the House consider dedicating time for a debate on the importance of support for the cooperative housing sector?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I want to thank my honourable friend for championing the work of Hawthorne Housing Cooperative, and as we've said before, housing is about balance, and cooperative housing undoubtedly has an important role to play in that matter. We are considering opportunities to establish a formal framework for cooperative housing and have provided £20 million in support for community-led housing. If my honourable friend seeks further detail, then should he apply for an adjournment debate on this matter, I hope he's successful.
It's Swallow.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pilgrim Hearts have been lifting homeless and vulnerable people in Bracknell Forest out of poverty and supporting them to rebuild their lives for 25 years. Does my right honourable friend agree that local charities and organisations like Pilgrim Hearts must be at the heart of our plan to tackle street homelessness? And will he set out what this government is doing to cut rough sleeping and poverty?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I absolutely agree with my honourable friend that charities like Pilgrim's Heart are the golden thread that run through our communities. And I thank Elaine and everyone at Pilgrim Heart for their 25 years of service to the local community. Homelessness, Mr. Speaker, is a moral stain on our society, and this government will not stand idly by and allow that to continue, which is why we're investing £1 billion to give homeless people the security of a roof over their heads and get back on track to end homelessness for good.
Thompson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. On Monday, Ilkeston's #1 tourist attraction, the NatWest Hole, was cruelly divided in two by a metal pole, installed with no explanation. The hole itself is a beloved part of the fabric of our town, and defacing it caused significant distress to my community. Thankfully, the pole mysteriously vanished a few hours later, but I've written to NatWest to understand what happened here. Will the Leader of the House consider scheduling a debate on the protected status of local heritage sites and quirky landmarks so we can discuss whether historic England might grant the Ilson Hole listed status?
Very much indeed, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend for bringing this interesting matter to the House. The UK is full of incredible quirky history, and I'll make sure that the relevant minister has heard the member's point and also encourage him to attend to seek an adjournment debate on the issue that he raises, and I hope that NatWest have heard his remarks too.
Mr. Speaker, the city of Dunfermline is at the same time Scotland's ancient capital and newest city. But as we start to plan for the future and what Dunfermline can truly become to fulfil its potential, I've launched a survey to make sure that local people have a great say in that, to give me their ideas about what they think the city should be in the future. Can I ask the Leader of the House to first of all come and visit Dunfermline to see for himself how fantastic the city is, but also to allow time in government time for a debate on the importance of our towns and smaller cities across Scotland and the UK.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank my honourable friend for that tempting offer. I shall see what my diary allows. I join him in recognising the importance of high streets and cities. They are often, as he suggests, at the heart of our local communities. High street regeneration is a devolved matter. However, the Scottish Affairs Select Committee currently have an inquiry on the future of Scotland's high streets, which I'm sure he is watching closely, and I hope that from that will be further measures that can improve high streets, not just in his constituency, but across Scotland.
I recently met with some volunteers from the Yorkshire Air Ambulance Charity, an organisation that provides a life-saving emergency service right across our region to 5 million people. Last year, they completed an average of 5 missions a day, an outstanding achievement. Will the Leader of the House join me in commending the valiant work of this charity? And can we have a debate in government time on how we can secure the future of such services?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank my honourable friend for bringing to the attention of the House the wonderful work of the Yorkshire Air Ambulance. Charities and their respective volunteers are absolutely fundamental to communities across this country, and none more so than air ambulances. I will ensure, Mr. Speaker, that the relevant minister has also heard my honourable friend's contribution and provide him with an update on what the government plans to further support such services.
Tom Hayes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the last 20 minutes, BCP Council's Planning Committee have just approved the Cherries plans to enable works to expand Vitality Stadium, with an agreement that there will be staff to marshal traffic and parking and a transport working group to abate the concerns of residents that were voiced so eloquently by Councillor Sherwin Carr-Brown at the planning meeting. Will the Leader of the House welcome these good pieces of news, and would he also commit the government to continuing to support football with the £551 million going into the Euros 2028 that England will co-host, but also the Football Governance Act?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I certainly welcome the news delivered by my honourable friend. for the expansion AFC Bournemouth. He knows, as many across this House know, the importance not just of football in the life of this country, but the importance of football clubs in the towns and cities of this country. It is important that it gets football gets the support that it needs, and the government is absolutely committed to that.
Josh Fenton.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. A recent proposal now dropped to see two multi-academy trusts in my constituency, the Pennine Allied Learning Trust and the Trinity Mat, merge, led to me getting over 100 individual letters and 2,000 people signing a petition in just a week. What can we do to make sure that parents' voices are at the centre of these decisions in future?
Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I thank my honourable friend for this question. It's important that the voices of parents and those impacted are heard, and it's to his credit that he uses his voice this morning to raise their concerns. When trusts explore a voluntary transfer, they are expected to engage with parents in the wider community in an open and meaningful way. So I hope that the Trust has heard my honourable friend's remarks this morning, and if he wishes to make his case further, I'll ensure that he gets a meeting with the relevant minister.
Right, we'll let the front benches change over. We come to the statement, Secretary of State, Steve Reid.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. This government was elected on a promise to repair the broken foundations of local government. In 2024, councils were on the brink financially, while a third of the country was left paying for the wasteful duplication of two tiers of councils for their area. This cannot be acceptable. After years of underfunding has led to a crisis in social care, the decline of our town centres and rubbish piling up on our streets. Visible failure that contributes to a decline in trust. Failure caused by Tory austerity and 14 years of economic mismanagement. This government will not stand by and let that decline continue. We can't just snap our fingers and reverse the last 14 years overnight, but we can act now to secure a better future. To get there, we've already announced fairer funding that realigns resources with need. But we also need to eliminate the financial waste of two-tier councils so we can plough the savings back into the frontline services local people care about the most. Today's announcement is part
millions of pounds of additional investment for these sectors. Can I therefore ask the Scottish Government whether it will work with stakeholders such as Social Impact Scotland to look at how we could deploy the use of social impact bonds here in Scotland across a range of areas in order to secure this additional investment?
Deputy First Minister.
I have followed the launch of the UK Government's Better Futures Fund and the Office for the Impact Economy with interest, and I see the potential opportunities of a social impact bond model to support wider policy approach to the third sector and social enterprises. So yes is the short answer to Michael Matheson. We are happy to continue to explore all options to deliver on those commitments to support the people of Scotland and a sustainable third sector.
Question number 7, Liz Smith.
Government what measures it's putting in place to encourage young people to engage in the arts?
Cabinet Secretary.
The Scottish Government has a long-standing history of supporting young people to engage in the arts through programmes such as the Youth Music Initiative and Systema Scotland. We are proud that both of these programmes will receive an uplift in the 2026-27 budget, taking our annual investment to £10 million and £2.787 million respectively. Both programmes demonstrate the transformative power of culture, ensuring young people of all backgrounds have the opportunity to enjoy music and the wider arts.
Liz Smith.
I thank you for that. I'm sure the Cabinet Secretary followed closely the recent Finance Committee evidence that we took from the 5 performing arts companies. And at that session, Alex Regic of Scottish Opera said this: It's interesting that we see a trend and increasing evidence that teachers no longer have the skills to deliver elements of the creative part of the curriculum. So could I ask what discussions this Cabinet Secretary is having with the Cabinet Secretary for Education to address what is quite a serious concern?
Cabinet Secretary.
Well, can I say I've been in extensive conversations with the national performing companies over the years, and I acknowledge the importance that teaching and the teaching pipeline, the students that come through from our schools into the likes of the Royal Conservatoire are very important. If she will allow me, I'll write back with greater detail, because I acknowledge that it's really important that our young people receive the investment and the support. That's exactly what's happening through this budget process, and can gently suggest to Liv Smith that if she agrees with me that that is important, that she votes for the budget.
Question number 8, Fergus Ewing.
To ask the Scottish Government what its position is about whether, without the use of private finance to enable construction of key infrastructure projects, there's a risk that Scotland could be seen as less attractive for inward investment and as a location for business compared with other European countries.
Cabinet Secretary Shona Robertson.
So Scotland remains a highly competitive location for inward investment, consistently delivering jobs and economic benefit. EY data shows that in 2024, Scotland was the UK's leading destination for inward investment outside London for the 10th consecutive year, and is ranked 6th among the top 10 FDI destinations in Europe. We will continue work with the Scottish Futures Trust to explore revenue funding options for infrastructure investment, and this aims to unlock additional private investment while ensuring value for money for the public purse.
Fergus Ewing.
An analysis of the capital budget, both for this and next year, shows that the sum of it devoted to trunk roads is 8%. And in fact, only half of that relates to improvement as opposed to maintenance and adaptation. That's a paltry amount, Cabinet Secretary. So surely you must agree that, I mean, if we're to see Inverness and Aberdeen connected to allow the renewable engines of Powerhouse achieve what they can achieve, they must have dual carriageway links, as must the south of Scotland, the A1, the A77. How on earth are we going to achieve all these things unless we change our priorities and find different ways to raise capital for these vital projects?
Cabinet Secretary.
Well, of course, Fergus Ewing will be aware that capital funding is constrained, and as well as the roads programme, there's also the housing investment, which of course we have are investing £4.9 billion, £4.1 billion of which is public capital money. And I'm assuming Fergus Ewing would support the investment in housing as well as the investment in roads. And of course the constrained capital position is exactly why we are looking at revenue finance options that are being considered, including all the procurement options being looked for the A96. So we will continue to do that to ensure that we can make sure that we can invest in our infrastructure, because we know how important that is to growing our economy.
Thank you. That concludes general questions. The next item of business is First Minister's questions, and I call Russell Finlay, question number 1.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Child cancer patients Millie Main and Molly Cuddihy. Adult patients Gail Armstrong and Tony Dines. 2 other children, names and ages unknown. All patients at the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital, where they contracted infections and died. Dozens more child patients also contracted serious infections. For years, families suspected that the infections were caused by the hospital's water supply. But they were lied to and smeared. NHS staff who raised concerns were bullied and silenced. The people of Scotland were told there was no problem. But now, after years of lies and deception, NHS bosses admit that it's likely that some infections were caused by the water supply. John Swinney has so far refused to release all of the information that his government holds about this scandal. Will he now do so?
First Minister.
Presiding Officer, first of all, I want to express my sympathies to all of those who are grieving the loss of a loved one in these circumstances. I recognise the deep pain, the grief and the hurt felt by patients and their families who provided brave testimony throughout all of these years on the issues that Russell Finlay raises with me. Now, clearly the issues emerged in the course of the last few years, and as a consequence of that, the Scottish Government established a public inquiry led by Lord Brodie to establish the truth about what has happened in this case. And I have every confidence that Lord Brodie, in taking the evidence that he has taken, will provide the open scrutiny and the truth that is required by the families and by everybody else. Now, the Government has shared all relevant evidence that addresses the terms of reference of the inquiry. Nonetheless, if there is anything further related to the business of government, whether that's Cabinet minutes or ministerial correspondence, not submitted to the inquiry, then I am happy to release this, subject to any appropriate redactions, such as personal information and the respecting of legal professional privilege.
Russell Finlay.
John Swinney's commitment is welcome, but it should not have taken this long, and there can be no backsliding. The families will be watching. I pay tribute to these families. I cannot begin to imagine the pain they have suffered. I'm in awe of their determination and their dignity. And I think that it's important for Mr Swinney to hear what they are saying. And I quote, "We were all lied to, we were all disbelieved, we were all demeaned and smeared. We have had our families devastated and our lives traumatised. We cannot overstate the level of deceit and conniving cowardice of Greater Glasgow and Clyde Health Board. These families quite rightly expect accountability. They demand a reckoning for the board's leadership. So will John Swinney sack those responsible?"
First Minister.
Presiding Officer, first of all, I acknowledge the pain and the suffering that the relatives of those affected by these circumstances have suffered, and the pain of the loss of their loved ones has been compounded by the tenacious efforts they have had to go to ensure that the truth would be established, which is precisely why the Scottish Government took the decision in 2019 to establish a public inquiry led by Lord Brodie, which, as I said in my first answer, will be determined to get to the truth. Now, there are a variety of issues that we have to await the outcome of the inquiry from Lord Brodie. But what I will say to Russell Finlay today is that in all circumstances, the Government will take seriously all recommendations from Lord Brodie in taking forward the issues that have to be addressed as a consequence of the commissioning of a public inquiry into this issue.
Russell Finlay.
We wouldn't need to spend hundreds of millions of pounds on public inquiries if public bodies simply told the truth. And it's no wonder these families are so angry. The Health Board has not been held to account, but neither has anyone in this government. Nicola Sturgeon was First Minister when the hospital began treating patients on the 27th of April 2015, just 10 days before a general election. During the SNP election campaign, she kept bragging about the new hospital. For years, Nicola Sturgeon dismissed growing concerns about infections being linked to the water supply. But now, the NHS have dropped the bombshell. They've told the public inquiry. Pressure was applied to open the hospital on time and on budget. And it is now clear that the hospital opened too early. It was not ready. So let me ask John Swinney a straight question. Did Nicola Sturgeon or anyone else in the SNP government apply political pressure to open the hospital before it was ready?
First Minister.
The direct answer to that question is no.
Russell Finlay.
Well, if the Scottish Government didn't apply pressure, who did? And why did they do so? This is one of many serious scandals involving Scotland's public bodies in recent years, from Police Scotland, the Crown Office, the NHS and more. This SNP government presides over a cynical culture defined by arrogance, secrecy and cover-up. A culture of zero accountability that misuses taxpayers' money to crush victims and to silence concerns, and which treats grieving families with utter contempt. The families of the hospital infection scandal are not going away. This is not over. They say that the hospital is still unsafe for patients and that the management cannot be trusted to make it safe. They continue. The people of Scotland demand it to be made safe. So how does John Swinney intend to protect patients and rebuild public confidence in Scotland's largest hospital?
First Minister.
Presiding Officer, I reject the characterisation of the government that Russell Finlay puts to me. And I would cite as an example of that the fact that the government commissioned a public inquiry to look at this very issue. I also would draw on the fact that the government has established public inquiries to look at other major issues where patients have expressed their concern. For example, the inquiry in NHS Tayside about the conduct of Mr El Jamel in his surgery practice, or the issues relating to the death of Sheikh Ubayu. So the government is, and I accept the fundamental point that Mr Finlay makes, that it would be better if we didn't have to have these public inquiries, but when things happen, we have to be prepared to take the steps to investigate and to get to the truth. Now, Mr Finlay raises with me issues of a current nature about the circumstances in the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in relation to the safety of the water system. And Lord Brodie, the chair of the hospital's inquiry, commissioned reports and audits from the inquiry expert Andrew Poplett on water and ventilation. Mr Poplett's view is that the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital's current procedures for managing the water system are suitable and safe. Providing the evidence to the inquiry in September 2025, Mr Poplett observed that after previously raising concerns, which he did, the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital water system is, and I quote, currently extremely well managed, close quotes, and there had been, quotes, significant improvements, close quotes, made. So that is independent advice that's been provided to Lord Brodie's inquiry, which I put on the record today to reassure members of the public that the safety considerations in the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital are uppermost in the thinking and the minds of Greater Glasgow and Clyde Health Board, and obviously the Government wants to have that assurance, and that inquiry report, I think, provides exactly that. And the last thing I would say is that it is important, vital, absolutely fundamental, that patients who are using hospitals, families that are using hospitals, are assured of the determination to ensure we have a safe clinical environment. And Scotland has advanced a lot of work which has attracted international commendation on the support for patient safety, and that will be one of the key priorities of the Government in making sure that the public can rely on such circumstances in our hospitals right around the country.
Question number 2, Anna Sarwar.
Presiding Officer, much of John Swinney's answers are simply not credible. This week, NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde said of the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital, pressure was applied to open the hospital on time and on budget, and it is now clear that the hospital opened too early. It was not ready. That hospital opened with contaminated water, which infected people and led to the death of at least 2 children. And weeks before the Children's Hospital opened, this internal report warned of a high risk of infections, and therefore a high risk to life for immunocompromised patients. It was ignored. Pressure was applied, and the hospital opened anyway with devastating consequences. So who applied that pressure and why?
First Minister.
President Officer, there are 2 points that I would make to Mr Sarwar. The first is that, as he correctly says, the hospital opened in 2015. The Scottish Government was advised by NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde of a water contamination problem was on the 1st of March 2018. So long after the report that Mr Sarwar raises with me. And the second point is that Mr Sarwar raises with me a point which is absolutely fundamental to the conduct of the public inquiry which Lord Brodie is undertaking. And I acknowledge the significant public interest in this issue, which is why Lord Brodie must have the opportunity to consider and to reflect on the evidence and to set out his conclusions.
Anna Sarwar.
Again, that answer is not credible. It's either at least negligence or more likely criminal incompetence if the government is suggesting this report was never seen. When this hospital opened, Nicola Sturgeon was the First Minister, John Swinney was the Deputy First Minister and the Finance Secretary who signed the cheques, and Shona Robeson was the Health Secretary. They received this report weeks before the hospital opened, warning of high risks of infections. They ignored it, opened anyway, and children died as a result. For 7 years, families have been lied to. Whistleblowers have been bullied, gaslit and punished, and those who raised concerns were dismissed and patronised. Pressure was applied to open the hospital before it was ready, even though it had contaminated water that risked lives. So I ask John Swinney again, who applied that pressure and why?
First Minister.
Presiding Officer, these issues are the substance of the public inquiry, and as I've indicated in my answers already, the government clearly expected the hospital to open. Preparations were being taken to do that, and the operational responsibility for that lay with NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde. And these issues are the substance of the inquiry that Lord Brodie must undertake. Now, Mr Sarwar said in his question that the experience of whistleblowers and staff and patients and families has been completely unacceptable. And I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. And that's why the government set up a public inquiry, because we were so concerned about the circumstances and we felt it was necessary to have a judicially led inquiry to get to the truth, to satisfy the legitimate concerns that exist. And that is what Lord Brodie will reflect on in the course of completing his report.
Anna Sarwar.
Presiding Officer, if Jean Freeman could see a report and stop the opening of a hospital in Edinburgh, why couldn't Nicola Sturgeon, John Swinney and Shona Robeson? That gets the heart of the issue right here, because this is the biggest scandal in the history of this Parliament. I first raised this case 7 years ago when whistleblowers came to me with devastating evidence that children had died due to infections, but their parents had never been told the true cause of their death. One of those parents was Kimberly Darrick, the mother of Millie Main. Millie was in remission but died after contracting an infection from the water. She was 10 years old. Millie was forced to fight not only cancer but an unseen danger inside those hospital walls. And every step of the way, the Health Board and countless SNP ministers closed ranks and denied there was a problem. People have died. Their families deserve the truth. A hospital was opened too soon with contaminated water, which infected patients, which led to deaths. And the Health Board say pressure was applied to open it before it was safe. So for the third time, tell the truth. The Health Secretary at the time is sitting right next to the First Minister. He was the Deputy First Minister and the Finance Secretary. They could ask Nicola Sturgeon too. Tell the truth. Who applied the pressure and why?
First Minister.
I've already answered that question to Mr Finlay in the answers that I set out. And what I would say to...
Let's hear the First Minister. Let's hear the First Minister.
Is that the government, when the government became aware of these issues, when the water contamination incident was raised with the government on the 1st of March 2018, there then followed a sequence of events that led to the establishment of a public inquiry, which is to get to the truth about all of these issues.
First Minister, sorry, I'm very keen to ensure that everyone in this chamber, those in the gallery, can hear what's being said. First Minister.
So the circumstances, once the government had these reported to the government in March 2018, there then put in place a sequence of events that resulted in the establishment of the public inquiry, the substance of which is considering all of this evidence. And that is what the government has done to make sure that we face up to the issues that are raised here, and that we provide answers to the family of Millie Mayne and others who have suffered so significantly as a consequence. And that's the commitment the government has put in place, and that is the commitment that Lord Brodie will fulfil.
Question number 3, Gillian Mackay.
There is often very little that unites football fans. But in recent weeks, supporters of Celtic, Falkirk and Motherwell have displayed banners backing my calls for a £25 cap on away tickets, a call that's also been backed by the Scottish Supporters Collective. Football is meant to be for everyone, but at a time where the cost of living is ever rising, there are fans being priced out of attending. There are already price caps in place in England and in many other European countries. We know how important attending games is for people. It reduces loneliness, not to mention the wonderful work the trusts that these clubs do for the wider community. Clubs would be nothing without their fans. So will the First Minister join me in the calls to cap away ticket prices?
First Minister.
Sir, I'm very happy to give consideration to this particular issue. I think for all the reasons that Gillian Mackay indicates, it is important that individuals are able to engage in watching their football teams and being able to enjoy that experience and to appreciate the solidarity of being together with fellow football fans. And I certainly will give active consideration to the proposal that Gillian Mackay has raised.
Gillian Mackay.
120,000 people will attend games over the weekend, but we currently have a system where outside a few clubs, fans struggle to have their voices heard, and at a national level, this is even more difficult. Whether it's ticket prices or fan ownership, we need to bring our sport closer to the people who make it what it is. In the months ahead, I plan to host a summit with supporters groups from across the country to discuss how we democratise Scottish football at every level and make it truly for the fans. Will the First Minister join that summit and help to put fans at the heart of our national game?
First Minister.
The Government's already held discussions on many of these issues about fan ownership and fan engagement in football, and of course there are a number of very good examples around the country of fan ownership and leadership of football clubs which has delivered significant results for participation in sport. So I'm very happy for the Sport Minister to be involved in those discussions. She's very actively involved in all of these questions about fan engagement. And if that helps to advance a sense of collective purpose within Scotland, then the Government will support that in every way it can.
Question number 4, Christine Graham.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. To ask the First Minister regarding the proposed expansion of wind turbines, battery storage facilities and pylons across the Scottish borders, whether the Scottish Government has carried out an assessment of the potential cumulative impact on the wildlife and the landscape in light of the importance of tourism to the area.
First Minister.
Sir, I completely understand the concerns of communities regarding the cumulative impact of energy infrastructure. Where new development proposals come forward, they are subject to site-specific assessments which should take into consideration cumulative effects of developments alongside potential impacts on communities, nature and cultural heritage. I appreciate the point that Christine Graham makes on cumulative impact, and I have asked that work is taken forward to consider what further steps we can take as part of our strategic spatial energy plan. Through the plan, we will work to balance the need to deliver net zero with the need to protect our natural environment, tourism and rural communities.
Christine Graham.
I thank the First Minister for his answer, and I do hope there's progress. So to give some context, I understand there are 30 wind turbines in the borders operating over 440, 30 sites operating over 440 turbines, with 3 more being built and others being applied for. Add to that the SP Energy Network, the project Cross Borders Connection, which will require, as I understand it, 400 pylons, taking borders-generated energy to England, without a doubt impacting on the beautiful landscape and the communities. That application, like the other applications, notwithstanding what the First Minister has said, It seems to me to be taken in isolation, segmented parts, not cumulative. Now, that cannot be fair, First Minister, when it certainly leaves communities getting absolutely nothing out of this but an industrialised landscape.
First Minister.
Presiding Officer, the issues of cumulative impact are a legitimate consideration in the planning process, and it is important that those issues are reflected in decisions, and indeed there will have been examples of developments which have not been able to proceed because of the concerns about cumulative impact. But I hope that what I've said in my substantive answer to Christine Graham gives her the reassurance that the issues at stake can be and should be considered in the planning process, and that the consideration that we are giving to the implications for the Strategic Spatial Energy Plan will assist in addressing the point that Christine Graham has raised with me.
Rachel Hamilton.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The First Minister says he understands the concerns of Borders residents, but I don't think he does. I attended the South of Scotland Energy Convention on Saturday, where the Scottish Conservatives showed their support for Highlands and the North East in calling for urgent action on the uncontrolled spread of energy infrastructure through a unified statement. Will the First Minister back my amendments on a moratorium on new energy applications and also a cumulative impact assessment in the natural environment to prove that he is supporting Borders communities?
First Minister.
Obviously, the Government will look at all of the issues that come forward in relation to the Natural Environment Bill and determine its position. But I simply repeat to Rachel Hamilton what I've said to Christine Graham, that the issues of cumulative impact are material issues to be considered in the planning process, and the steps that we are taking in relation to the further analysis in relation to the Strategic Spatial Energy Plan will be designed to address the points that Rachel Hamilton puts to me on behalf of her constituents, as we make the sensible balances between the protection of our natural environment and the ability to ensure that Scotland benefits from the abundant renewable energy that we will have to develop to provide energy security in the years to come.
Craig Hoy, briefly please.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Last year I wrote to the First Minister asking for him to support a moratorium on all BESS, pylon, solar and wind farms across the south of Scotland. As Rachel Hamilton just said, this weekend community councils added their voice. Why is this First Minister not listening to rural Scotland?
Yes. First Minister.
I can assure Craig Hoy that I listen to rural Scotland all the time, since I represent a large part of rural Scotland in my constituency representation. And what we are trying to do is to work with communities and to work to ensure that Scotland is able to have access to sustainable energy that will provide us with energy security in the years to come, and that lies at the heart of the policy direction of the Government.
Question number 5, Miles Briggs.
The First Minister what action the Scottish Government is taking to address the reported issues with teacher job shortages caused by temporary teacher contracts.
First Minister.
President, the latest data shows that for the first time in 3 years the number of teachers in our schools has increased. We are also seeing encouraging progress in recruitment. More teacher induction scheme probationers are securing a teaching post, whether permanent or temporary, in the year following their probation. This Government understands how essential it is to have great teachers in every classroom, and the challenges in recruitment in some subjects and local areas must be addressed. That's why I am pleased to announce today that we are launching a national recruitment campaign to encourage more people into secondary teaching, particularly in the subjects and areas where recruitment is most challenging.
Miles Briggs.
Well, the Government's own analysis shows that most newly qualified teachers in Scotland are no longer getting permanent jobs. 2,294 newly qualified teachers completed their probation. However, only 25% of them have secured permanent posts. EIS General Secretary Andrea Bradley says these figures released confirm that the Scottish Government has absolutely failed to deliver on their 2021 manifesto commitment. First Minister, after 19 years of this SNP government, why have ministers spectacularly failed in their workforce planning and the pledge they made to both parents, professionals and young people? And what does the First Minister say to young qualified teachers in Scotland now considering leaving our country because of this government's disastrous education workforce planning?
First Minister.
President Officer, there has been an increase in post-probation employment from this year compared to last year, which demonstrates the progress that has been made. We also have in place a lower pupil-teacher ratio in Scotland compared to other parts of the United Kingdom, and a higher number of teachers per 100,000 pupils in Scotland compared to other parts of the United Kingdom. So the Government recognises the importance of investing in teacher education and in education services. That's why the Government has increased the budget available to local authorities through the Government's budget announced last week, and we will continue to work with our local authority partners to ensure that we strengthen recruitment of teachers and to encourage and motivate more individuals to join the teaching profession.
Paul O'Kane.
It was this First Minister at the beginning of this Parliament who promised a focus on recovery from the pandemic in education. He made a pledge around 3,500 more teachers, permanent teachers, in this Parliament, and yet he will spectacularly fail on that pledge. And yet, according to the Cabinet Secretary, it appears to not be the responsibility of this government. Rather, it's the fault of teachers themselves. She said, and I quote, "They're opting not to travel to jobs," or "they are much more expensive to employ." So can I ask the First Minister, does he agree with Jenny Gilruth's analysis of the situation? Does he think that underemployed and unemployed teachers across the country should have to uproot their lives and their families because of his government's failure to competently put together a workforce plan?
First Minister.
The Government has had in place for many years incentives to encourage individuals to move to areas of the country where there are shortages of teachers, and there are challenges in place in some of those locations, which is exactly why the Government has intervened to try to put in place those incentives to ensure that can be achieved. But Mr O'Kane rather skates past the improvements that have been made in Scottish education, with record levels of literacy and numeracy in our schools as we speak, with a tremendous exam diet of achievements that have been made by the young people of Scotland. There is tremendous strength in Scottish education, and Mr O'Kane should join those of us who are very proud of it.
Willie Rennie.
When John Swinney was Education Secretary, he instructed the recruitment of thousands of extra teachers, but failed to ensure there was enough permanent jobs for them. The result is that thousands are on precarious zero-hours contracts. Isn't it the case that, despite all the fine rhetoric from this government about workers' rights, it's got the worst workers' rights record of this Parliament? And finally, when are these people finally going to get a job?
First Minister.
What I'd say to Mr Rennie is that teachers in Scotland are the best paid in the United Kingdom as a consequence of the pay deals put in place.
First Minister, the thing that I find really frustrating is I know how many members wish to put a question in this session, and every time I have to stop business, another member is being deprived of that opportunity. Please, let's hear one another. First Minister.
President Officer, the steps that the Government has taken have been to improve teachers' pay and conditions, and as a consequence, and as I recounted these figures to Mr Sarwar last week, teachers in Scotland are much better paid and have much better take-home pay than teachers in the rest of the United Kingdom. We have more teachers per head of population in Scotland than other parts of the United Kingdom, and also a lower pupil-teacher ratio in Scotland. That's the Government investing to deliver on our commitments in education, and we intend to continue to do so.
Question number 6, Katie Clark.
To ask the First Minister whether the Scottish Government will comply with the Scottish Information Commissioner's ruling that files relating to James Hamilton's investigation into whether the former First Minister Nicola Sturgeon broke the ministerial code must be published by 22nd January 2026.
First Minister.
Presiding Officer, the Scottish Government will comply with the Commissioner's decision and will do so as soon as practically possible. I do not expect this will take much longer. The courts have made it clear the identities of those who complained in relation to allegations of sexual assault must have their identities protected, and there are no circumstances in which I will do anything that risks breaking those court orders. I cannot release information which would breach those court orders and amount to a contempt of court.
Katie Clark.
The Scottish Government has wasted millions of pounds of taxpayers' money fighting court cases, with 2 further appeals relating to the salmon files before the Court of Session later this month. Will the First Minister ensure full disclosure by releasing all of the salmon files? And if he won't commit to this today, will he at least release information which has not been contested through the appeals process? And if the Scottish Government loses the appeals, will he commit to not using his veto? My Freedom of Information Reform Bill would strengthen the powers of the Information Commissioner, preventing the late disclosure of information, which happened here, introduce proactive disclosure and abolish the First Minister's veto. Will he look closely at my bill, which is supported by the current Information Commissioner and all the previous holders of the role, as it would help deliver openness, accountability and transparency, which were the founding principles of this Parliament?
First Minister.
We will, of course, look at the bill and consider its contents, but it is really important that I am clear with Parliament why the Government is acting in the way that it is acting. The Scottish Government has handled nearly 90 freedom of information requests and reviews relating to the James Hamilton investigation. We are also responding to 96% of information requests on time against a backdrop of rising request numbers. In relation to the particular case that Katie Clark raises with me, the Government will comply with the Commissioner's decision, but I have to be absolutely satisfied that there is no risk that court orders that protect the identities of individuals who have complained in relation to allegations of sexual assault are in any way disclosed as a consequence. I will be clear with Parliament, I will not do that. And I'm very surprised that Katie Clark wants me to release all of the information, because if I released all of the information, I would breach court orders, and I will not do that. So the Government is appealing 2 other cases which we believe would result in us committing contempt of court, and I will not do that. So the Government has, as I've said already, has handled nearly 90 freedom of information requests, but I have a legal responsibility. I have a responsibility in the ministerial code to obey the court orders that are in place, and I want to be crystal clear with Parliament. I will do nothing to jeopardise that.
Fergus Ewing.
But what the First Minister hasn't said, presiding officer, is that James Hamilton, when he produced his report himself, in public, in an unprecedented move, expressed his severe reservations with the redactions that he was required to make. And moreover, the orders made regarding the release of further information have been made by David Hamilton, the Freedom of Information Commissioner. Now, the First Minister will accept that both James and David Hamilton are individuals of the highest repute and integrity, and they would not invite him to do anything that was illegal. So my question is this: isn't the First Minister using the excuse of jigsaw identification as a human shield, as a pretext for declining to release information because the real reason is it will cause extreme embarrassment to several people who are in the Scottish Government now and previously were in that trusted position?
First Minister.
I cannot find it in myself to associate myself with the words that Mr Ewing has made of the, quote, excuse of jigsaw identification, because that question lies at the very heart of the provision of statute in this country. And my duty as First Minister at all times is to obey the law. And Mr Ewing is inviting me to be cavalier with the orders that have been passed by a court in this country, and I want to be crystal clear with Parliament, I will do not one bit of it.
Murdo Fraser.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I wonder if the First Minister appreciates what a bad look it is for his government to be spending huge sums of taxpayers' money contesting rulings from the Independent Information Commissioner. David Hamilton is an experienced and respected professional who has spent his entire career in Scotland's justice system. Does the First Minister really think he would be asking the Scottish Government to do something that would be unlawful?
First Minister.
The Government has made clear that we believe the Information Commissioner has erred in law in relation to two of the cases that the Government is appealing. And Mr Fraser is a lawyer. He knows full well the obligations that I carry as First Minister to ensure that the Government at all times complies with the law. And where I believe there is a risk of jeopardy in that respect, I will ensure that the Government acts within the law, and that's exactly what I'm doing.
Thank you. We move to constituency and general supplementaries, and I call Emma Roddick.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Developers have warned that the planned West of Orkney wind farm, which has the potential to power 2 million homes by the end of the decade, will not be built unless unfair UK transmission charges are overhauled. Under Westminster control, the UK energy market is broken. Communities don't benefit from hosting development. Developers are penalised for being in Scotland, and this is taking a toll on jobs, investment and ultimately costs, which leads to higher energy bills. Does the First Minister agree that powers over Scotland's energy should be placed in Scotland's hands?
First Minister.
Well, Presiding Officer, Emma Roddick raises significant concerns about the West of Orkney wind farm, which have been raised by the developer, which is a development that would bring enormous benefit to the people of Scotland, but it is put in jeopardy because of the disproportionate transmission charges of the United Kingdom regime. So the sooner we can ensure that we have the control over these issues in the hands of the people of Scotland so we can benefit from the energy wealth of Scotland, the better, and that can only happen with independence.
Ros McCall.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The First Minister will be aware of concerns raised by the Scottish Childminding Association regarding planned changes by HMRC to making tax digital and the long-standing tax-free wear and tear allowance for childminders. The allowance permitted registered childminders to claim 10% of their income tax as tax-free, given that they're opening their homes to children and the evident wear and tear which comes as a result of this. Now, the tax changes are due to the introduction in England and Wales of childminding in a non-domestic premises, which does not apply in Scotland. And the changes will require childminders to claim on a case-by-case basis should damage occur in their properties as a result of the occupation, adding additional admin and complexity to a burgeoning sector. Now, the childminding workforce in Scotland has declined by 48% since 2016, with an increase in paperwork cited as the main reason for this decline. So childminders currently looking at whether they can make a decision about their future business model based on this. So can I ask the First Minister, in the light of this, what assessment has the Government made of the impact on childcare capacity in Scotland of the HMRC's decision, and what urgent representations can be made to the UK Government to try and halt this?
First Minister.
I'm not familiar with the issue that Ros McCall raises with me, so I'll take that away and explore it. It is, of course, from my listening to her question, an issue that's been advanced by HMRC, which, of course, is a United Kingdom organisation. But it obviously will have implications in Scotland, but I will consider the points and write to Ros McCall about what steps the Government can take.
Kenneth Gibson.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The forthcoming Scottish Budget commits a record £513.4 million next financial year for ferry services. Yet CalMac proposes swinging cuts to this summer's timetable to and from Cumbria. They seek to reduce sailings from 4 to 3 per hour while introducing a disruptive maintenance schedule that will reduce sailings even further. These proposals will impact connectivity, the island economy, make attending hospital appointments more difficult, reduce CalMac's income and have zero justification other than CalMac's own convenience. Will the First Minister ensure that these damaging service reductions don't happen?
First Minister.
Sir, I understand how significant an issue this is for Mr Gibson and his constituents. The ferry service to Cumbria is a very well used and very busy route, and particularly in the summer period. And the Cabinet Secretary for Transport is meeting with CalMat next week to discuss in detail the current proposals around maintenance of vessels and loading and unloading activities alongside other matters. So I give Mr Gibson the assurance that the Transport Secretary will raise with CalMac the issues that he has put to me today. CalMac are in the process of reviewing options and will continue to work closely with the Cumbria community to ensure that any proposals are fully discussed before any final decisions are taken or implemented. But the Transport Secretary has heard these exchanges, and I know will take that issue forward with Caldo and McBrain.
Thank you, Bailey. I've been contacted by social care organisations, Unite the Union, the GMB, about a gap in the Scottish Government's budget for social care pay. COSLA has calculated £19 million funding shortfall in meeting the cost of the real living wage for social care staff on the basis of the wrong baseline being used. Everyone assumed that this was an accounting mistake, but the Finance Minister yesterday confirmed that the funding gap was deliberate. The First Minister will be aware that services will be cut, staff, the majority of whom are low-paid women workers, will lose their jobs if this gap is not addressed. So can I ask him, will he support social care and will he fill the £19 million gap?
First Minister.
Minimum wage.
Well, the government is fulfilling its commitments to social care, and it is supporting investment in social care by the provisions in the budget. And I look forward to Jackie Bailey's support for the budget to make sure that it delivers for the social care sector.
Oliver Mundell.
Thank you. Thank you, Presiding Officer. As those at home and around the world, including here in our own Parliament, raise a dram this week to the continued social, economic and cultural importance of Robert Burns, the campaign to save the home of Old Lang Syne, Ellisland, the Dumfriesshire farm the poet built and called home, is building momentum, and it's where he wrote many of his most famous works. With the project to restore this nationally significant site, it's so important to local residents in Dumfriesshire and Burns fans. Will the First Minister reaffirm his government's full support for the project, and will he agree to visit Ellisland and join Scots and visitors from around the world in experiencing for himself what Burns called sweet poetic ground?
First Minister.
I have observed a lot of fantastic work that's been done at Ellisland Farm to preserve and to enhance the facility and to ensure that it can play its role in the celebration of the outstanding and timeless work of Robert Burns. So I am very happy to reaffirm to Oliver Mundell the support and the encouragement of the Government for the work that is underway. There is work that has been taken forward which involves attracting funding from the National Lottery Heritage Fund, South of Scotland Enterprise and Museums and Galleries Scotland. And I would encourage the Robert Burns Ellisland Trust to continue engaging with Museum Galleries Scotland in taking forward their plans. I'd be delighted to visit the Ellisland Farm and to see first-hand the plans that are being taken forward and to give my very active support. And it is a daily experience for me to walk past the portrait, the Naismith portrait of Robert Burns that hangs in the drawing room of Butte House, where it should hang as a tribute to the timeless commitment and work of Robert Burns, which we celebrate at this time of year and which has such an underpinning of the values of our country.
McLennan.
The Head of Scotland for Save the Children has welcomed the SNP Scottish Government's budget plans for a top-up on the Scottish Child Payment for families with a baby under one. She said this week this crucial extra support can't come soon enough for families. We hope it receives cross-party support in Parliament. Will the FM join me in calling on opposition members to listen to Save the Children and back this SNP Scottish budget so that we can deliver landmark policies like this to continue our work to eradicate child poverty?
First Minister.
President Officer, the point that Paul McLennan makes is an important one. The Scottish Government underpins the support for the Scottish Child Payment, which is helping to keep children out of poverty in Scotland and to deliver a falling level of child poverty in Scotland. From 27-28, the Government will deliver a boost to the Scottish Child Payment to £40 per week for all children under 1, which Save the Children has said will sow the seeds of a brighter tomorrow. And I would encourage members of all parties to support the Government's budget, which makes provision for these aspirations.
And Jeremy Balfour.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The First Minister will be aware of the disgraceful vandalism of the Edinburgh Central Mosque last week. What is the Scottish Government doing to address this intolerance displayed in this action? And what assurances can he give to all religious communities in Scotland that don't feel safe following attacks like this?
First Minister.
First of all, I was deeply troubled to hear of the vandalism at the Central Mosque in Edinburgh, and I associate myself entirely with Mr Balfour's points that nobody should be on the receiving end of hatred in our society today. I regularly meet, as does the Social Justice Secretary and the Minister for Equalities, with various groups in Scotland to ensure that we are acting together to tackle hate in our society. There are groupings in our society, the Muslim community on this occasion, on other occasions I've had representations from the Jewish community in Scotland who are on the receiving end of hate. And what the Government is doing is supporting communities, investing in the cohesive communities work that we undertake to make sure that Scotland is a country free of hatred, as it should be.
That concludes First Minister's questions. The next item of business is a member's business debate in the name of Emma Roddick. There will now be a short suspension to allow those leaving the Chamber and the public gallery to do so.
Okay, if I could encourage those leaving the public gallery to do so as quickly and as quietly as possible, as well as those who are leaving the chamber to do likewise, as we move on to the next item of business, which is a members' business debate on motion 18469 in the name of Emma Roddick on Growing Together programme success. The debate will be concluded without any questions being put. I'd again ask those leaving the public gallery to do so quietly. Thank you. I'd invite members wishing to participate in the debate to press the request to speak buttons. I invite Emma Roddick to open the debate around 7 minutes. Ms Roddick.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I'm unusually nervous today because I'm just so incredibly glad to have the opportunity to speak about growing together and share with colleagues, with government and with anyone else listening why engaging with this organisation amongst the thousands of meetings that we have as MSPs is one of those that I will always remember really clearly. And colleagues will know the ones I mean, the ones that you remember because they really made you feel something. Growing together